Good evening, Warriors, and welcome into another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, we're back in person. How's it going?
For a week, right?
For a week. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
It's weird to be back. You know, you've been on Christmas break,
Yeah.
holiday break, and it's been crazy with basketball. Lots of basketball going on, area stuff all over the place. Lapway, holy cow. Pullman is doing really good. And there's something happened this weekend. I can't put my finger on it.
There's always stuff going on. You're gonna have to be more specific. So, what do we got? We've got AFC and NFC championship games.
Yeah.
I bowled in the playoffs because somebody fell apart the last game, but we won't get into that.
We won't get into that.
Yeah, Golden Throne. Golden Throne is here. It's this weekend. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Basically, the entire second hour will be mostly dedicated to Golden Throne talk. We will have Lewiston boys head coach Brooks Malm on about the top of the 7 o'clock hour. And then at the bottom half of our hour number 2, we'll have both principals from Lewiston and Clarkston here. Last time we had them on the show, we had them on StreamYard. So we'll see if either of them can figure out where the studio is at.
I think Driscoll was probably, if I remember right, wasn't he sitting in
I
his
just realized I
recliner or
have this
something?
thing on. So the spoilers that Brooks will be on there. We've been testing things through the last hour, and I forgot to take Brooks's camera off.
That's
He's
all
not.
right.
He's not here yet.
He's not here quite yet, but that's okay. Yeah, last time I think we had Driscoll on. He was sitting at in his recliner, if I remember
Oh,
right,
probably.
kicking back.
Absolutely.
So
So we're gonna have a
be
lot of fun.
interesting.
We'll do the NFL the first hour, a lot of Golden Throne and some local stuff. Some crazy LC news. As guess what? It's track season. So you know what happens during track season?
No,
Yeah, a record book gets thrown out the window.
again.
Oh my goodness. It is just insane. That record book has to be written in pencil with how much things change every week, sometimes twice in the same event. But we will get to all of that in the second hour. But Robert, you did kind of mention it. So let's just hit that off here, and we will do our best to continue to remind you. Once again, we try to do our best to make this a Tuesday at 6 p.m. show. Where it's really good in football because football is Friday nights.
Exactly.
Sometimes a Saturday game thrown in there. And I do volleyball, which is always Fridays or Saturdays. So that's usually not a big issue. Baseball, not a ton get played on Tuesdays. And the ones that get played on Tuesdays are early enough that we can work around it. Basketball does get in the way, and it does happen again this upcoming Tuesday, as you will actually go on the road, as you will cover Clarkston and Rogers up there and call a couple of 40-point blowouts.
Yeah, it's going to be probably big blowouts up there as you look at the girls' side, and we'll talk a little bit later about it. But I hate saying this about any team because I love watching high school, getting back into high school basketball, starting to announce at Clarkson, 10 years ago, got back into the swing of it and just have fallen back in love with it. But you look at the GSL 2A division, and it's pretty well not very good. It's Clarkston, and then everybody else, and everybody else is like substantially down here. So the boys, we're playing 500 ball right now, so it'll be interesting.
And
going into there.
It's the same thing in boys, but scratch out Clarkston and put in Pullman.
Pullman and West Valley, but
Pullman.
Yeah, right now, and Pullman right now, and we'll might as well drop it right now. Pullman is playing number 2 in the state in the 2A, is playing number 6 in the state, West Valley right now. They are just getting ready to come out of halftime, 35-18. Pullman leads as they get ready to go into the third quarter.
So you have high school basketball to go to. I will not have high school basketball to go to, as Lewiston will be on the road to Coeur d'Alene. Should be some good games up there, but we're not quite ready to go on the road there. But with LCSC baseball getting ready to start, we get to talk baseball next week. I'm very excited. But with baseball starting up next week and the Warriors traveling to Florida to play the gauntlet to start their season, Brian Danner, for some reason, chose the Florida trip over the stay-at-home trip. I don't know why.
I don't understand why he didn't have you go with him.
Or just let me go. I got it, but I'm staying because I'm going to cover LC for that week. Well, 2 of the 3 games.
Right.
Lewiston does get in the way on one of them. So I will be traveling to Walla Walla to cover LCSC basketball for 9:50 a.m. KOCE. And then also on Saturday, I will have some of the home games as well. So I have a lot of fun being able to do that. But because basketball does get in the way, we have to move our show. So once again, we're going to have a Monday night show. We will keep it at 6 p.m. instead of moving it up an hour like we did last week. I feel like we do this every other week anymore, but
we did it for football. We were able to watch football.
Yeah, we did watch the good first half of the Dallas Tampa Bay wildcard game, which wasn't a very close game or a very good game, but we got to watch it. And it'll work out good because it'll be a day after both the championship games, and then we will do the Super Bowl, get into all of the silliness that is the Pro Bowl and everything else there. One other piece of news to touch on before we really get into the divisional round of the playoffs. Major League Baseball had their votes to see if anybody was going to join Fred McGriff, who was put in a week ago,
a couple weeks
with
ago,
the Veterans Committee that had their vote. We were going to see if anyone else was going to get in. Now, nobody got in 2 years ago. And then we just had one last year, right? And it was going to be a question if anybody got in. And you asked me that very question 3 hours ago, right before they announced it. And I told you no. I didn't think anybody was going to get in. And I was wrong, but I should have been right.
Well, it was within like 3 minutes of it starting. I said, anybody getting in? And I figured it was going to be the other player that fell just short. 11 votes. He fell short by 11 votes. I really thought it was going to be Todd Helton in this time.
I still don't believe in Todd Helton either. So none of these names scream Hall of Famer to me. For anyone that has not seen, we have not put it out there. Scott Rowland did get in by 5 votes. So you need 75% of the votes. You got 76.3%. It's a 6th year on the ballot.
Right.
You get 10 chances at this thing, and then you get put into the Veterans Committee. He had a good career. You could even say he had a very good career. To me, the main thing is he played 17 years. So some of those stats get built up a bit. But then you think about it, he played 17 years and only had 1,200 RBIs and runs. It's not even 100 a year. At no point was he amazing. Now, he was a great glove. He was a very good defensive third baseman. But he's not a Hall of Famer. We've now hit that point that we held on to so many of those steroid names that most of the writers just refused to vote in, but enough did to keep them on the ballot.
Right. That
now they are leaving the ballot because they've been there for 10 years. Other players who usually would stay around and eat up some of the votes got knocked off because those votes were given off to the steroid guys. So now we don't have a ton of fantastic names on this ballot, and people are going to start slipping in. Scott Rowland got in this year. I guarantee you Todd Helton gets in next year. He, like you said, he was only 11 votes short, and I don't think he should have been in or should be in. But again, it's longevity over being a star athlete for the Baseball Hall of Fame. If you played more than 15 years, there's a good chance you're going to get in. Why? Because your stats just build up.
Right. Well, there's two things. There's two sides of that, and with you saying that, and you have the same idea as what Mad Dog Caruso was talking about. They had him on there, gave him a few minutes and talked about it, and you said the exact same thing. He didn't put up the numbers that some of these other guys did. His offensive numbers were just not the big numbers that you needed. And he put up an argument, which is a good argument, that you look at Jeff Kent, second base, playing in the middle, didn't have a heck of a glove, but he had almost 100 more RBIs, almost 60 more home runs.
Yeah.
And I think his career was like 2 years less, if I remember right. And he put up more numbers and all that, and he only ended up getting, I want to say 40%.
Yeah, but Jeff Kent's not a Hall of Famer either.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's questionable. And you said that on the other side. So now we got to think about, okay, the next few athletes to come up that are eligible first timers coming up in the next couple of years. And I forget who they said was coming up this next year, but a year after next will be Ichiro.
He's locked.
I mean, that is a lock. But I'm trying to remember the other name that Caruso threw out there in his discussion when he was trying to debate Jeff Kent.
Let me see if I can look it up real quick.
But you hit it on the head. I mean, Ichiro is a sure first-time Hall of Famer. You look at the top five that finished after Scott Rowland, or the top four after Todd Helton was at 72%, Billy Wagner 68%, Andrew Jones 58%, and Gary Sheffield. And Chef going into his last year. Next year will be his last chance to get on the ballot. I don't think he makes it.
No, absolutely not. He's not making the strides that you would need to get in there, and it's just not happening. Now that I'm looking at this,
I think he increased like 14% or something from last year.
Looking at this, there's not much. Adrian Beltre is the most interesting name, but once again, that is somebody that played a very long time. Adrian Beltre, one of my favorite players ever to play because he likes to have fun. But is he a Hall of Famer? I don't think so. Joe Mauer is a very interesting one at the catcher position. He did a lot of good for Minnesota, but has he really put up the numbers? Chase Utley, David Wright, Bartolo Colon.
Yeah, none of them really.
There's nothing that super stands out. Jose Bautista, that's not a Hall of Famer to me. So there's just not a lot out there that stands out.
Yeah, I think hands down the next one it will be Ichiro.
Oh yeah, and I agree.
And that one then will become the question: is he 100% all on every ballot, or will he be 96, 95% first ballot?
There's always someone.
What his career did for what he did over in Japan and then come over here to what he did. I think him bouncing around from Seattle to New York to Florida.
None of that matters.
I think that might.
Most people will not remember his trips to the other teams other than Seattle. Yeah. And yes, he gave up a lot of years to his years in Japan, so his numbers weren't as big as they even could have been. I don't think he'll be 100% just because still we've only ever had the one. Jeter was one vote off, and it was just because somebody went, I'm not putting anybody in. And there's always going to be that one person. But I've said this many times. To me, the Hall of Fame should be said name, absolutely. That should be your reaction. If you go, well, then he's not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Absolutely. But anymore, it's like, all right, well, maybe let me look at the resume, and then you look through it and you go, well, the numbers built up enough.
That's the same thing that has hurt Pete Rose. I mean, yeah.
Pete Rose hurt Pete Rose.
You should still be in there.
You say yes, we're talking baseball. We're getting excited. we're getting into it before we hop onto the football train. You started talking, and he just disappeared. Where did you go? I can see him. He's not gone. You guys can see him too. I'm just flipping him crap. This is bad radio, sir. I don't know. He's digging through his backpack for something.
I had just gotten in my bag, and I still have my card that Denny Grubb gave me.
Oh, there you go.
I still packing around with me. Seth Brown.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Mr. Denny Grubb.
Todd Helton, if you just missed it, I do not believe Todd Helton is a Hall of Famer. I don't see it. He will be. He will get in next year.
I think he will.
I just don't believe he should. Billy Wagner's the one that's the interesting one to me because he was a fantastic reliever. Relievers kind of get shunned when it comes down to it, other than Rivera, just because he kind of got this cult-like following as a Yankee, and Inner Sandman became its own thing. And being part of New York and that whole culture helped him as well. Billy Wagner kind of got forgotten in San Diego. But Wagner was right up there with Rivera in a lot of things.
I think the big one for me is going to be, I don't know about Denny Grubb. I think, honestly, Andrew Jones gets in. 10-time Gold Glove.
Yeah.
He played
he's pretty good.
Heck of defense. What kills him is he was a career 254 hitter.
How many years did
430
Andrew Jones play?
I actually had just pulled it up to find out how many. He was 17 years. Same
See,
as
that's
Rowland.
another one is the Rollins stuff. I think he'll get in. Him as a young player was so dynamic and fantastic that you just felt, oh yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. The second half of his career, from what I remember, I'm not looking at his numbers or anything right now, but from what I remember, he just kind of fell off and played a long time as that aging player that was there for his speed and his power, and he just didn't have either of those after a while. But
yeah, you look at the stats in 2008. Well, even if you look at 2007, 222. Then 158, 214, 230, 240, 197. But 10-time Gold Glove, 5 times All-Star, Silver Slugger.
Denny keeps throwing out names that we were hemming and hawing about. I want to know what Denny thinks about these guys, about Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, or now he put out Beltre. Beltre, one of my favorite players, as I said. I just don't think Hall of Fame. Again, you say his name and I go, and to me, you're out. If I have to think about it, you're out.
So the other name, we've got a couple of years to get there. But like you say, you have that reaction. Once you hear that name, it's like, is it a yes? Is it a no?
Right.
And you throw out all of a sudden, you throw out Miggy Cabrera. That's 100%. 100% yes. That's that player. You say Cal Ripken, yes. You say
Billy Ripken.
Billy Ripken, yeah. But I like your analogy of that. Of you say that name, if that name just triggers an automatic, heck yeah.
To me, that's what the Hall of Fame should be. It's now broken down. Analytics has been great and bad when it comes to baseball. Well, analytics are so fun to look at, and Denny Grubb will tell you the same thing. We go through a lot of that kind of stuff, and it kind of tells you a lot about a player and maybe the hidden gems that you just haven't seen. But to me, with the Hall of Fame, these are your stars, which again is why I never cared about the steroid stuff. Why I don't care about what Pete Rose did betting on baseball. He still is one of the greatest players that's ever played this game. Throw him in there. It's not what the writers believe. That's a whole nother story that we could talk about in summer when we have less to talk about. But to me, it's just that name should hit. Miguel Cabrera, fantastic career, and then he added 87 years on top of it. 100% he's in. Albert Pujols, when he gets to that time, absolutely.
And it's the character of him. Those guys, everybody any player talked to, they want to play with him. They wanted to go and hang out with him. Look at his fan base. I mean, following around.
If we wanted to go through and really just put people in based on numbers, then just take the top 50 in WAR. And that's your Hall of Fame, and then we just kick people out and put people in. And
we kind of had that same thing on Sunday. We were trying to vote for
literally. Our buddy David Duffenberg does not watch this show because he bowls on Tuesday nights,
right.
So doesn't even know we're having this conversation. Just messaged me on Facebook. Scott Rowling in the Hall of Fame. Okay, I guess. So yeah, that's just showing you should not be.
Yeah, but it boils down to like. We just had this conversation on Sunday as we were trying to vote for our Rookie of the Year. I mean, it boils down to we were looking at analytics, a couple of them, and it came down to a stat of, our person tiebreaker, votes and
of who's really new to the game of bowling and who's been around for a while and decided to be awesome and join our league. Both were great people and we had fun, but sometimes it kind of comes down to that. So, all right.
Well, there's
go. I popped that up. It's been great. Nice to talk about Pete Rose, and might get in after death, and they'd have to change some rules to allow that to happen as he's gotten through all his eligibility and stuff. But all right, that's our little bit of baseball talk. I'm getting the itch.
I am
so
too.
bad.
What are we down to? Like 2 weeks?
Until pitchers and catchers come in. It's great. Obviously, like we said, we're very, very close to LCSE baseball starting down in Florida. Right. Very excited to see how they do against those teams. We will have that preview next week. Again, Monday night will be our show next week. But let's get into the football because it is the divisional round. And we were down to 8 teams. We are now down to 4. And let's start with the AFC,
All right.
where I think we had overall the better games.
Well, let me preface this first.
Okay.
I watched maybe 10 minutes of each game. The only reason, I was busy with Pop. We were trying to go through things and doing stuff with that. Really didn't watch much other than a lot of highlights. So.
That's okay. Kansas City does hold off Jacksonville in the first playoff game of the week. Denny's the best.
How funny is that? Because actually, that's what Dad had for dinner tonight. He had Arby's, so
better. I'll get to it. All right. Well, let's just real quick, Jesse, just break it down. Which closer game was better? Kansas City or Jacksonville, or San Francisco or Dallas? That one is a close one to debate. I might lean San Francisco and Dallas just because it stayed close the whole way. But Kansas City had the better storylines and the better storylines that will continue into this week. And then the other game, both of them were blowouts. I stopped watching the Minnesota Giants game 5 minutes into that game because I knew that it was over. Zero chance the Giants were going to pull a Jacksonville comeback. With Cincinnati Buffalo in the snow, that's playoff football for you. The better team definitely won that contest. However, you just never knew, could Buffalo have those big plays? Yeah, absolutely. Kansas City was only close because of the injury, but the injury was there. So the AFC had the better game. So as we've said, Mahomes goes down with an injury, toughs it out. Was wild to watch. Robert Taylor, our buddy, I don't know if he has hopped on yet or not to listen, but was even messaging me, and I think he even posted on his Facebook that he wanted Mahomes to sit and just let Henny finish it out.
His Facebook was blowing up because he was posting stuff because, the few people that I follow, I'd hear my phone go off, ding, ding, as I'm helping Dad. And it's Taylor commenting or posting something every 2 minutes.
And it'll be very interesting to see if he's able to go next week. Obviously, with the high ankle sprain, you have the adrenaline rushing through you on the game. They give you whatever kind of shot to go through the pain. He did not look comfortable at all the rest of that contest. Was Mahomes, and he was great, but he was not comfortable out there. And now you have a week of it to settle in. How the same injury happened to Pollard on Dallas. Obviously a different position, and he really needs the cut. He got carted off with his shoe off to the side. And Mahomes finished that game. Again, with the quarterback, he played a lot different and could stay in the pocket. But it's going to be a lot different playing a Cincinnati team than Jacksonville.
Oh, hands down. It's going to be so much different pressure and all that. It'll be interesting to see how they pregame him.
Oh, he ended up breaking his leg?
He had a ligament, and he ended up having a broken leg too.
That happened, all I was seeing was high ankle sprain. So thank you for updating that.
So
the broke leg. That makes more sense.
Yeah, so it's in our notes there too. So
I haven't gotten to that part of those.
But he ended up having with the ligaments, and then and having broken fibula. But I think it's going to boil down to how do they handle him, today and tomorrow is kind of harder days for practice, and then they lighten up. It'll be interesting to see how he comes out on Sunday.
I don't know. I doubt he practices at all. They're just going to be very gentle with Mahomes.
They're going to have him walk through. I mean, he has to be able to be.
Does he?
He's got to be able to.
Do you have to walk through,
honestly,
take 3 steps back, throw it to Kelsey?
He has to be able to move around a little bit, especially how the Bengals defense is going to fly around.
You're going to walk around and you're going to work out your ankle, but Mahomes doesn't have to practice.
All
he has to do is throw it to Kelsey. That's all they did. What was it, 14 catches or something insane for what Kelsey did in that contest?
But you look at that. But you could really consider his stats really subpar, even looking and adding whatever with him, because he only missed 7 minutes of the 6 minutes of the second quarter.
For him to do that on one leg is fantastic. You have to give him full props. Was his stat numbers better than what they have in other playoff games? Of course not.
No.
But no one else is getting back in that game. It's insane.
You
Now,
could
I'm not
tell-
going to go Nick Wright on everybody. I don't know. Did you see his new
I
quarterback
have
list?
not seen his new quarterback
Again,
list
I
yet.
love Nick Wright because
He is
he
funny
plays
to
a
watch.
goofy character and he has a lot of fun with things, and he doesn't just sit there and scream and yell. He knows his takes are off the wall and over
He's
the top
not
at
like
times.
Stephen A. Smith.
No.
Oh.
Or Skip Idiot. He has fun with it, but here is his new quarterback list. I want to see if you agree with him.
Okay.
He goes, unquestionably, no doubt about it, number one, Patrick Mahomes. That's a yes.
Yeah.
And I had Aaron Rodgers as
I'm-
one in our preseason,
Right.
and I have ate a lot of crow for that terrible take because Aaron Rodgers aged 17 years this season, and Mahomes just continues to look good. Number two, Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Number three, Patrick Mahomes on one leg. It was great.
I still think Jalen Hurts is up in there, even if
No,
he didn't
the
play a
rest
couple
would be
of
really,
games,
really close. It was really funny to me. So Kansas City does move on, which is really no surprise to any of us. I took Jacksonville in your loser pool to allow me to continue into our tiebreakers. I'm still mad that Indy beat Kansas City randomly on like week 3, but
you'd be
that's
playing
neither
for
here nor
first place
there.
instead.
I will give my loser pick for Robert's poll on this show. We'll get to that here in a little bit. The other AFC game, Cincinnati just dominated Buffalo. And we'll hit some questions in our little lightning round here shortly, just to nail home what I think about Buffalo.
Thought?
I do.
It's hard for me to have a lightning thought.
It really is. But I'll name drop Robert Taylor because I messaged him before the game and said, the moment I switched over to the Cincinnati game and got ready to watch that playoff contest and saw there was snow, Cincinnati won that game. Cincinnati is built for that weather. Buffalo, even though we keep saying Buffalo is a cold weather team, they are in name only. They are not built for cold weather, and I'll get to it in a little bit. They had zero chance in that contest because everything was built perfectly around the way Cincinnati likes to play. And the one big question was, well, Cincinnati had that really bad offensive line last postseason, and they made all those changes, and now they have 3 injured players on their offensive line, and we're starting 3 new guys against a Buffalo team here in the playoffs. What would Joe Burrow do? Dominate. Offensive line looked fine. The better team won this game, and I think that same team with Mahomes on one leg could roll into the Super Bowl.
I think it's a strong possibility. I think the big thing that has happened with Buffalo over the last couple of weeks is Josh Allen handing over the ball. I think I saw he had 23 turnovers this year. You cannot
he's trying to do too much.
You cannot win that game. I as soon as they get I think they need one more offensive lineman, and not taking anything away from Singletary, but Josh Allen was the leading rusher for his
Singletary
team.
even on that team anymore?
Yeah,
is there a
you
running
wonder.
back on that team?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they need to get a running back in there that's going to control the tempo and be a standout one. Singletary is not a number one.
No,
far from it. Far from a number one. And so I think that's one of the worst things that happened. I mean, when Joe Mixon outrushes everybody on your team, out of the 3, the 3 people carrying for you, Joe Mixon, I think he ended up with what did I say? 106 yards or something like that, 109 yards or something like that. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, there was obviously, injuries are with everybody, but there was a bunch of defensive injuries for Buffalo, and they were unable to get to Cincinnati. But I think the Bengals had the better game plan going in. Run the ball, and then you just have your quick outs. Joe Burrow, 3-step drop it to a guy doing a curl. He'll spin around, the defender will slip. And yeah, spending all that money on Von Miller and then him tearing his ACL, you can't predict any of that, but that didn't help them.
No.
But to me, this loss is not on the defense. The defense with those injuries still held Cincinnati to 27 points. But they had no chance because Buffalo's offense is not built for snow, which is insane to me because they live in Buffalo or they play in Buffalo. And I almost don't even put it on Singletary or James Cook for having horrible rushing careers right now. I put it on the whole offensive scheme for Buffalo and not having the right block protection in the run game because they haven't had a good running back season since Marshawn Lynch was there 38 years ago.
Was that how long ago
No, I
he
don't
was
know.
there?
It feels like Marshawn Lynch has played that long.
I was trying to remember who the offensive coordinator was there. Oh, Ken Dorsey. You know.
But they keep bringing in these running backs that are supposed to change the way Buffalo plays, and nothing changes. They can't get the running backs going at all, and you need to have a running game. So Josh Allen, when he first came into the league, I didn't buy into him because I thought his accuracy was sketchy. They brought in Stephon Diggs, and that changed everything because now you have a couple people that can go deep. Robert Woods was another one. And Allen had such a fantastic arm, he could get it deep, and then Stephon Diggs is going to win the one-on-one or just straight up beat his guy. But now teams are able to prevent against that and put two guys on Diggs, one on top, one underneath, and make it difficult for Allen to try to fit into that window. And they're able to do that because they know you can't run the ball on us. So they need to change everything and become a run-oriented team. I'm not going to say a run-first team, but a more run-oriented team. And then you can capitalize on Josh Allen's arm strength and the ability on Stephon Diggs to get behind the defense when they finally get lulled into your running game.
I know a coach that's looking for a job.
Oh, God.
His name is Greg Roman.
Yes, bring him to the AFC East.
Listen, I mean, that was the thing. They designed that little bit, but the bad thing happened is he didn't stay on top of the changing of the players, adding into the scheme. So he wasn't keeping things fresh. Is that the same thing with Ken Dorsey? I see it that way.
Yeah.
It could easily be that way.
So another player we'll talk about that could be leaving his team. Could you see Ezekiel Elliott on the Buffalo Bills next year? For them going, we really need to change our running game. So let's bring in the running back that hasn't been good for 3 years. I could see it.
Yeah.
Just saying. All right, let's get into the lightning round.
Right.
Lightning. Quick round.
All right.
Buffalo and Jacksonville were both eliminated this weekend. Which team performs better next season? Robert Taylor, you missed all the fun. You missed Kansas City. So now we're not going. Hey, we made it, but we're getting ready to go in the NFC. Sorry. You're here for the prediction. That's good. Who's going to have a better season next year, Buffalo or Jacksonville?
If I'm going to say Jacksonville. If
me too.
Allen plays the way he does, it's garbage. Look for Jacksonville to draft another offensive lineman.
2 reasons why I agree with you. Buffalo's too hard-headed to really change their ways. And who's really going to be competition for Jacksonville next year? Nobody in the AFC South.
It depends on who.
Tennessee's going the wrong way.
Depends on who goes into quarterback for Indianapolis.
Well, even then, it's either going to be a rookie and they're going to suck, or they're going to bring in another aging guy that's going to suck. Yeah, and we have to remember this, and Jesse makes up a good point. Calvin Ridley comes back too. Right. They traded for him while he had the 1-year suspension. He joins the team. So that just becomes a brand new free agent for them. Meanwhile, Buffalo's in a division where Miami's on the up. New England is, with Belichick, you always feel will be a contender.
Bill O'Brien's back up there.
Jets are a quarterback away at this point. So, tougher road for Buffalo, and I think Jacksonville is headed in the right direction.
Wait. Yes, because of the coaching staff, but you're always looking for a quarterback in New York.
We never get one. We just don't get one.
Just should have started Joe Flacco all year, huh?
Yeah, what was his record this year? All right,
next one.
Is Buffalo built too much for regular season success, but not in the postseason?
Yes.
I agree, 100%. I've talked about it several times. They are not built for cold weather.
No.
And they play in Buffalo. Everyone's like, oh, God, the AFC Championship game between Buffalo and Kansas City has to be played in a cold weather stadium. No. If those two teams would have met, going to Atlanta would have helped Buffalo.
It boils down to
Period.
that team. They need a number one running back. Yes, the injuries we just talked about it a minute ago. Jesse makes a great point. Yes, Von Miller's out, but you got to be able to run the ball in this league.
Yeah, 100%. Last one here before we get to our AFC Championship prediction. What team is most likely to break up these four teams, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati, from reaching the divisional round next year?
I've got to say Los Angeles Chargers. You look at...
I almost just feel like I can't do it anymore. How many years have we said Chargers? How many years have we said Buffalo's going to win the Super Bowl?
Herbert has proved himself to be a decent... I think the partial season with Eckler and all that going down, I think with him not being consistent, I think that's the big thing. I think it's got to be the Chargers.
I'm going Homer.
Are you?
Jets. We'll do anything to get a veteran quarterback and be good.
I didn't want to go Homer.
Well, you're not going to have Lamar Jackson back next year.
No.
So. All right. Cincinnati on the road is a 1.5-point favorite at Kansas City, mostly because of the scare with Mahomes' leg.
And I double checked it. So when I typed this on Monday morning, Kansas City was a 1-point favorite. Now
there's a lot of concern with Mahomes, and will he be able to play at all? And if he plays, what will he look like? And to me, I'm in that same boat. If it was straight up, everyone was 100% healthy.
Even money.
Cincinnati has beat them, 3 straight times? But sometimes that's going to motivate teams. Scares and unders. And I feel, as much as I like to tease Robert Taylor, I do feel bad. But
I don't think he liked my Chargers one.
Well, no, he just liked that I was saying we continue to say Chargers, and it's just never the Chargers. But I'm taking Cincinnati in this game.
Right.
If Mahomes did not get banged up last week, I think I still take Cincinnati. But it's one of those just, if I'm wrong, I would not be surprised at all. But with the Mahomes deal, Kansas City's my loser pick this week.
Right. So for me, it boils down to two things. I would love to see. This is gonna. I've gut tells me there's gonna come down to. It's gonna be a 3-point game. It's gonna come down to a field goal. But on the other hand, is if Cincinnati comes out the way they did in this last game, they're scary. Like and it's taken me how long before I finally put them in my power rankings all year. And I'm 6, 7, 8 all year, and it's just scary. If he does not, if Mahomes struggles with any kind of walkthroughs early in this week, I think that's the big thing. And Joe Burrow just takes advantage of it. And what Mixon and what P. Ryan has done for this run game the last few weeks, look out.
Oh, yeah. Let's get to the NFC. We'll just skip right over the Philadelphia crushing the Giants 38-7 embarrassment. I did pick the Giants in our pick'em, but I felt like they had to jump out early so they could run the ball, and Hurts could not be 100%. Within 5 minutes, I knew both of those statements were false, and Philadelphia was going to roll that game.
Yeah.
They were by far the better team. We'll talk about that in our lightning round for the NFC. Eagles off the bye look really scary, and Hurts being 100% will be a tough test. But let's get right to it. It was a very good game between San Francisco and Dallas. While not the highlight reel that we see from some of these other AFC games, defense really stood strong in this one. San Francisco wins 19-12. Once again, we have a missed extra point. But it was blocked.
He was blocked, but you could see it.
I am pretty sure he was going to miss it. Anyways, again, like Jesse had noted, Tony Pollard did break his leg in that game. The last time I had saw anything, it was just a high ankle sprain, but it turned out to be worse than that. Purdy was contained very much. He looked more like Mr. Irrelevant, but he didn't turn the ball over. He stayed within himself. He just wasn't explosive. You might have to be explosive against Philadelphia. We will see this weekend. But Dak Prescott was the one that was making the turnovers, and that ended up being the difference in the game.
Yeah, 100%. And you look at this one, and for a defense like Dallas to keep Christian McCaffrey to 35 yards rushing says a lot about what they have. And I love to see the future of what their defense is. And
we'll get to that play.
You know, you look at it, you've got Parsons on the end. They backed him up a couple times into a linebacker position. And you got to talk about our local boy. You got to talk about Van Der Esch, second on the team with tackles. He looked unbelievable flying around to the ball. So for Dallas, and take nothing away from that defense, they looked great. And I think they held San Francisco what should have happened, you know, but then you lose Pollard with what, a minute and a half or something, or 6 minutes or whatever it was left in the second quarter. And then Dak Prescott. Are they playing Pong downstairs?
Maybe.
But Dak Prescott, you know, 2 big interceptions. That's the tough part.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, again, became the big difference in this game. 1 possession game the whole way, and it's because San Francisco made Dallas go the whole trek of the field, and Dallas kept giving San Francisco shorter fields with a couple of turnovers. That's how it goes. Hit on that last play real quick. People are overreacting on that last play. Yes, it was hilarious to see Zeke out there as the center, and really he was the only offensive lineman because everyone else was spread out. There were some offensive linemen spread out to the side, but I actually liked what they were attempting to do. San Francisco did a fantastic job of sniffing it out and being in the right places at the right times where they couldn't get anything going. But anytime you see those kind of plays where they need to go 80 yards or whatever it was because they Dalton Schultz stepped out of bounds without getting 2 feet in, so it really messed up any chance at a Hail Mary. But anytime you see that, they try to do the whole lateral play and they're throwing it across the field, and after about 2 or 3, it ends up in the hands of a lineman, and that's it. So Dallas went, screw it, let's bring out all of our hands people. It was like a onside kick for them. Let's bring out all these crazy hands people for this great play. We'll put Elliott in the middle. They didn't expect San Francisco to run right through him. They just figured, okay, we'll just throw it real quick and they'll guard everyone else. So Elliott gets taken out instantly. And then they throw it to a receiver who I'm pretty sure was supposed to catch it and toss it to T.Y. Hilton, who was at the bottom of the screen, who is standing behind 2 offensive linemen to try to push forward a little bit. And then they could try to go back and forth. But as Jesse says, they sniffed that thing out so quick. The execution did not work and it just looked bad. But I can't blame them. It's not like they had a great chance to make this play work and then it just didn't. It was just they needed something crazy to happen, so they tried something weird, and it just didn't work.
Right, and that's the thing is they should have never got put in that predicament ever. But just the way they were playing, so it's interesting to see these play designs anymore. These gadget plays that keep trying to pop up all over the NFL.
Oh yeah, just trying different things. All right, lightning round in the NFC. Is it time to rebuild in Dallas?
Yes, I think so. Jerry Jones canceling his meeting today. I think it's time that they make a big shakeup. And you know, I wouldn't be half surprised if your thought is somewhat correct. I don't know about Zeke going to Buffalo, but I think he's gone. I think it's time to shake it up a little bit.
Try to keep Pollard around. I think he was a better pack. The good thing for Dallas, though, is you can rebuild and still be a competitive team with how good that defense is. Now, do you get rid of Dak and go in a whole different direction and completely rebuild that? Maybe. That might be a very high possibility there. Well, yes, Jesse nails it. Jerry Jones needs to fire Jerry Jones. But that defense for Dallas can keep them as a contender while they try to rebuild that offense.
Well, let me throw this out. I think it might end up looking that way if Kellen Moore gets the job in Carolina.
Yeah.
Which he is supposed to have interviewed today or tomorrow. He interviews for Carolina. So, you know, Kellen Moore is eventually going to get there, but I think it's the same thing as what we were just saying. You have to keep up with your incoming guys and keep things fresh with your plays that you want to run.
Right. Did Philadelphia crushing the Giants prove even more that Minnesota was overrated? Because the Giants beat Minnesota the week before.
I don't know. I've been on Minnesota all year, but
you've been way too high on Minnesota all year.
So,
and I picked Minnesota to beat the Giants. My picks around the Giants just have not gone well, but Minnesota was not good. But can we trust in Daniel Jones?
Listen, what he did this year with what coach did with him, I think it, when I said it many times on the show this year, it was a put up or shut up year for him. And I think it was enough to keep him in the spot.
I think so too. I still don't buy in to Daniel Jones. I think he's a middle of a pack quarterback, but he did well enough, I think, to earn a contract this year. You can put some really good names around him. He will never lead you to a Super Bowl. Like, I'll put you on my back and I'm going to carry you there. But he is serviceable enough that if you get enough good pieces around him, he's Eli Manning. And Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls. And that's all you really need.
Yeah, thank you, David Tyree.
All right, last one here. What non-playoff NFC team makes a big jump next year and possibly makes either divisional round or could we go crazier and say the NFC Championship game?
I hate saying it. Seattle's.
Why?
For Geno, the way he came out.
Is Geno even coming back?
You don't know. From what Geno had, and I think now Kenneth Walker has a year under his belt, we so underestimated this team. And I think they were playing, and everybody, and I think it was just everybody was so hard on him. I think he had something to prove, and I think that's going to set things up in the long run. Kenneth Walker finally having, he's got to figure out how to keep the switch on instead of such on-off, but I think they could.
I'm just going to go with the trendy pick and say the Detroit Lions. They would have been They would have been a lot more fun in the playoffs than some of these other teams that made it. Like Seattle. Well, Seattle made the playoffs. So what are you talking about? They can't even be a pick. What non-playoff team, sir? I forgot Seattle made the playoffs because they shouldn't have. Because they got the stupid 7 seed.
Yeah, stupid 7 seed.
And Jesse says the Rams, if they're healthy again, that could make sense too. They had so many injuries. You just kind of forget about them. And they could be that sneaky team next year going, hey, remember when we had actual talent on this team?
Yeah.
All right. NFC playoff championship predictions. San Francisco at Philadelphia, Sunday at noon. The Eagles at home, 2.5-point favorites. Who do you got?
Listen, I typed both names multiple times. I erased them back in. Do you take Jalen Hurts? Do you take Christian McCaffrey and Kittle? Ayuk? God, I hate to do it because I like the way Philadelphia's played all year. I'm taking San Francisco.
You only kept San Francisco because I took San Francisco and I put it in first. You still have a 1-game lead on me in these playoffs. And you wanted to lock it in going into the Super Bowl by picking the same as me. I am also taking the 49ers as well. The Eagles look fantastic against the Giants. Hurts being healthy will make this a lot more difficult on the 49ers to get this win on the road. But I just think the talent around Purdy and the fact that he did not play well this last weekend, but did not turn the ball over, kept them in that contest and helped them get that win against Dallas is huge to me because that's exactly what they're asking him to do.
I'm going to say one name, and it was a name that I wasn't expecting to type in today, and that's Gainwell. If Gainwell can have another game against San Francisco, we'll see Philadelphia in there. But I don't, like you were saying, it's going to boil down to Hurts in there. But that defense for San Francisco going up, if they can play contain on Hurts, it's going to be nasty.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you said, we both went 3-1 last week. Yep. I was silly with my Giants pick. They needed a lot to work for that pick to happen, but I just wanted to have a little fun. And you went Buffalo
at home,
and then it snowed in Buffalo, and that game was over. So you are 7-3 in the playoffs. I'm just 6-4. My continued mediocrity in my picks in the NFL just continues.
So that brings it. So are we going to see a Super Bowl rematch of Super Bowl 23?
Yeah, if we get our picks right, sure.
Excited. It'd be kind of.
Like that's just such a TV thing. Oh, it's a rematch or something. 37 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Joe Montana, 357. Yeah.
Yeah. What is Joe Montana going to do in this game?
He's going to sit on the sideline.
Yeah. So is Jerry Rice getting tossed balls by George Kittle in the crowd. That's about it. All right, real quick. Let's have a little bit of fun. Prop bets obviously are a big Super Bowl thing. So we're not going to go over the top.
Right.
But I found some player prop bets. Just have a little bit of fun. 2 for each game, 1 for each team. Isaiah Pacheco, Robert Taylor's favorite running back in the whole world, over or under 50.5 rushing yards against Cincinnati.
I think he gets held under, and it's going to be about 39 yards.
He obviously put up a ton against Jacksonville and the 12 carries that he had. He broke out one huge run in there to kind of pad those stats, but he looked pretty good. He just doesn't get the ball. Kansas City doesn't run the ball. You would think with an injured Mahomes, you would want to run the ball more. They probably won't. And then you mix in McKinnon and as well. I'm also going to say under. If Kansas City wants to win the game, that number better be over by a lot, but it won't be. Jamar Chase, over or under 83.5 receiving yards against Kansas City.
If you're going into this game, there's one guy you've got to watch, and there's 2 guys basically. It's either Mixon or it's Chase. So if I was Kansas City and I'm Andy Reid, I'm going to shut him down. So I'm going to take the under on this one, and it's the game plan of them shutting him down.
I'm going to say over. Wow, yes, you do need to shut him down. Chase is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say over there, and I do think Cincinnati's going to win that game. So him getting those receiving yards definitely will help. On the NFC side, Jalen Hurts, over or under 1.5 passing touchdowns versus San Francisco.
It is going to be an under on that one because he's going to have 2 rushing touchdowns.
Ooh, that makes it difficult. But I'm going to say over. What do you have? 2 passing and 1 rushing
this last
weekend? I think he gets 2. I think this is going to be a really good game. Both teams in the high 20s, maybe low 30s.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns. Yeah, 2 passing, 1 rushing.
So I'm going to say just over. I'll say he gets 2. And then finally, Brock Purdy, over or under 220.5 passing yards against Philadelphia.
Like I said, if Hurts gets 2 on the ground, he might have to throw a little bit. I think he gets. He's going to have to pass the ball. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the Kittle and Ayuk show. And
we'll dump offs to McCaffrey and all that will work too. He did not look good against Dallas and had 214 yards.
Right.
So I will say over as well for 220.5. Some NFL news for you. Chargers fire offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi and quarterback coach Shane Day on Tuesday. That's not surprising when your season does not go as well as you were hoping for. You get rid of the side people, so you don't have to fire the head coach, though a lot of people think the head coach should be gone. But it's a big year for him next year.
Yeah,
he better make a big push, or it's his name for sure next year. Cleveland hired Jim Schwartz. He's still around, the old Detroit head coach from 2009 to 2013. He'll be their defensive coordinator. Honestly, that's a good hire. He's a good defensive coordinator. It didn't work in Detroit as a head coach, but there's a lot of names out there that is like, he was a terrible head coach, but as a coordinator, we're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Aaron Rodgers says he is open to restructuring his contract with Green Bay. We will see if that changes anything. He is guaranteed almost $60 million next year, which is insane.
Well, I mean, on Pat McAfee today, he hinted that, he knows it's a business, and so they've got to make changes, but it'll be interesting there. New England Patriots bring back, we talked about this a few minutes ago, Bill O'Brien. He's going to be the offensive coordinator there. He spent the last 2 seasons in Alabama, so it'll be interesting. With that being said, and then bringing Bill O'Brien back, does that push Matt Patricia out, or does that push him over back to the defensive side of the ball?
The fact that he was even on the offensive side anyways was dumb.
I think he needs to go back on the defensive side. That's just me.
I agree. Me too.
San Francisco 49ers defensive lineman Charles Omenihu was arrested Monday on suspicion of domestic violence. He has also posted bail already. Is that a big concern for San Francisco going into this game against Philadelphia on Sunday?
It's not great, but I don't
mean,
think it'll.
I think he
change
had
too much.
5 sacks on the season.
Yeah,
Was a big part of the defensive line.
He is a good part of the defensive line, and this will be a distraction for sure. And he should not play.
All right.
But
I've laughed at this one over the last couple of years. How is it that NFL wants to make a story out of, hey, we're releasing who's going to be our officials for this
because Robert Taylor hates Carl Sheffers. So he was the one that broke that news to me.
Yeah, it happens.
That he was going to be the referee for this game.
Yeah, Carl Sheffers was announced today. This is his will be his third Super Bowl now in 4 years. He's had 2 back-to-back ones, Super Bowl 52 and 55. So the other names on the list, the umpire back to, don't know any of them. None of them are any of the female officials. So that's kind of weird to see on that one. Last but not least, some on our NFL news. Did you see they leaked a little bit of schedule for they
usually kind of
the away games over across
they
the pond?
Usually warn teams that are going to lose a home game that they're losing a home game to an overseas contest. So I'm okay with that. None of them, I don't believe, said who they were playing.
No, not yet.
And that'll be the first part of the schedule release will be who they will play.
So in London at Tottenham will be the Bills and the Titans. They'll host at Wembley. It'll be Jacksonville where they hosted last year. And the 2 games that'll happen in Germany will be the Kansas City Chiefs and New England Patriots. Still haven't decided where that's going to be. But no games in Mexico City. And they're talking about renovation. Does that mean somebody is permanently moving in there pretty quick?
Only if they're really thinking about expanding the league again, which would not surprise me because, once again, I've built a database that's fit for 32 teams. So why not add teams to really mess my database up for our bowling league?
Exactly.
And try to figure out where we're going to put other games in that bowling alley. But
yeah, no kidding.
But no, I don't think anyone is going to pick up and leave and go to Mexico City.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. And I did put this down there. I know we're going to see it here in about a week, though. I'm excited for the Pro Bowl event. Something different.
Yeah, I don't care.
Something a little different.
Kick-tack-toe is always fun. I'm glad they're bringing that back.
I read some of these. I'm a little, how is this one going to work?
We'll see. The side games are always fun. I could not care less about the flag football.
I couldn't either.
It's better that because that's what it was anyways. Nobody was tackling, so why not just make it flag?
Yeah. The other one.
I'm glad they're changing it, but I don't care. All right, real quick, let's end up our NFL talk, and as we wait for our first guest, I need to message him, see if he got lost or if he's still on his way. But how about some potential landing spots? I bring this up now because
wait a minute, you changed one of them.
Because I heard something on the way here.
All right.
And I'll talk about it in a second. But I bring this up now because didn't Matthew Stafford get traded before the Super Bowl a couple years ago? Wasn't that Detroit Rams trade announced at least right around the Super Bowl when that happened? And then obviously you have to wait till the new league year to make it official. But I have a feeling we might hear of a big trade. I don't know who, but before the new league year actually starts, and it could be before the Super Bowl. You get that extra week in there where teams can chat and try to work some stuff out. Just saying, we might see one. Let's start with your boy.
Are we going to go there?
Lamar Jackson.
All right.
Where does he play next year?
Listen, I as much as everybody has been talking about, he's probably going to get franchised.
Actually, go through all yours real quick. Bruce just called it.
Yeah. So, with that being said, everybody has talked about the idea of what he is going to be doing, where he's going to be going. He will. I think he will end up being franchise tagged. He will have some kind of thing. I do think that they do get a chance of getting a deal done. So it'll take a little bit of work. But he wants the same money as everybody else. And I think, and Randy and I have had this discussion many times, and even talking with other ones, that if Lamar would have signed his contract and would have gotten a deal done earlier in the year, we would have seen him in the playoffs. That's the biggest part. He would have been in the playoffs. We would have been to that point of there would have been no question about what he was doing or anything like that. He would have been in the playoffs. So you, sir, with the Lamar, you think he's going to end up down in Tom Brady area?
Just because I wanted to make you mad.
Yeah,
I took Tampa Bay there.
All right.
Is that all you got to as Lamar while I was gone?
Yes,
God, you talk
I
too
can
much.
talk Baltimore all day long.
That was my mistake.
I know. All right. You have Derek Carr on that list. Where do you think Derek Carr ends up?
I want him on my Jets. That is the quarterback that I want on my team. But I don't know if I turned your headphones on there, Brooks, but there you go. No, now you should be able to hear it. But there's been things that I've been hearing, and I'm feeling a different way. So I'm going to say he goes to Seattle because while a lot of people want Geno to stay there, he's going to be asking for a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. I think Derek Carr ends up in Indianapolis. I think that's where they need a lot of work. And so that's where we're going to put him there. So
yeah, that's fair.
Jimmy G, where do you think Jimmy G is going to
He goes to Indy because the Colts cannot help themselves. They have to have that veteran quarterback that is past his prime.
Riverboat Ron gets rid of both of his guys. He gets rid of Heineke and he gets rid of
that's
Wentz,
possible.
And you will see Jimmy G wearing the red and gold.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tom Brady.
God, what a disaster. I don't know.
After his vocal vulgarities that he said on Jim Gray's show today, I don't think we'll hear for a while what he's going to do. I think he retires.
It's going to be a bit retirement. I can see the Raiders just make too much sense. Put him back there with Josh McDaniels. Devontae Adams is a great wide receiver to throw to.
Mm-hmm.
And he just did get divorced, so he's living that bachelor life again. So why not do it in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, no kidding. And last but not least, the man that said he would be considerate of restructuring his deal, Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to keep him there just to appease your other half.
Well, I'm not going to appease my other half. This is where I've told you, and I've messaged a bunch of people today, where I'm getting that weird feeling of deja vu. Who is the last Green Bay quarterback that stayed past his time and the heir apparent had to sit on the bench for years?
The gunslinger.
Where did he go?
To Green Bay. Or he went from Green Bay to New York Jets.
To the New York Jets.
Oh, brother. We're going to see it again.
The rumor is that Green Bay wants 2 first-round picks. And Adam Schefter has heard that the Jets have said, absolutely, we would pay 2 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers. It's just whether Aaron would want to go there or not.
Yeah.
I'm getting major feelings of deja vu. I'm not saying that's what I want, but that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. All right. That's going to wrap things up for the NFL side of it. Quick score update before we bring on our first guest. Bantams boys just finished up their first game of the doubleheader tonight. They were down 28-20 at halftime. Come away with a big win against Shadle Park, 62-51.
There you go. Do we have an update on the Pullman?
Last time I saw the Pullman game, it was 49-31. That was a while ago. I'll try to get a score update with that one.
All right, well, let's bring it in. Again, most of the second hour will be based on the Golden Throne, our favorite time of the year. And we haven't had this man on the show just yet. New head coach for the Lewis and Bengals boys team. Brooks' mom joins the show here today. And Brooks, I will tell you real quick, that microphone's not the best, so we'll have you talk right into that little guy. But I can do that. Some of the technology here is not great. But Brooks, man, how you been?
I've been good. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Listen, I haven't had a chance to introduce myself, and I know he did. I got to see you coach for the first time during the Avista tournament.
Okay.
And Avista was a brand new thing probably for you to see with all the teams coming in. Dude, you coach with a lot of fire.
I was going to bring that up for a few minutes and ease him into this interview.
I'm going to put him right there.
Take.
And the energy level that you brought to that game was just unreal.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I hope good. I appreciate it if it is a good thing. But,
It's a good thing for
All
me
these-
because I'm entertained while I'm
Okay.
calling play-by-play,
okay. All right.
looking over at Brooks. But actually, I'll put you on the hot take too. Why is Carson Way always referred to by his full name?
When I'm coaching,
Yeah,
I don't know. You know what? I think
it's James, it's Carson, and it's Carson Way. Every time he's talking to Carson Way, good or bad on that bench, it's Carson Way. I was doing this for you. Carson Way, we need this, and I gut roll every time.
you know what, that might be we need to get Coach Bruner on the cast right here. We need to get Coach Teal Bruner on the cast. Shout out to him. He did a heck of a job with the Prairie Pirates for a long time. And one of my childhood idols that I got to grow up watching was David Sigler. And man, I remember being a manager at Troy, and we'd go up to Cottonwood, play Prairie. And gosh, it didn't seem like, I mean, half the time he might have been on the bench and it was David Sigler. You know, and so I don't know. Maybe that was something I took from him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
With that being said, you're son of, and you just set it up at Troy of Coach Brad Baum, who won state 7 times up there. It's just crazy.
Never won one. He never won a state title.
Never won
He never won a state
Wow.
title.
Or
He
he
never
was-
won a state title. He
Or
played
was
in
it
two.
yeah, there you go.
Played in 2 state
I
titles.
put that in there
Yeah,
incorrect.
won some district titles, but never won a state title actually. Yeah, I grew up a coach's son, so that was one I was very fortunate to grow up in the gym and get to be around a lot of great coaches. Another small town coach who I look at as a mentor and kind of an uncle, honestly, is we're on level. And you know, that's another small town guy that you look at that did it for a number of years. He's actually out in Pauletch right now. And Pauletch has a pretty good team. His grandsons are on that team, and they're having a pretty good year. But you know, he never won one either. Basketball's kind of a dumb game like that. You know, you get some good coaches and good players, and sometimes the best guys just never win. So kind of an odd game like that.
And especially when you look at the state of Idaho, where it's so divided between the North and the South, and the South really gets all of the attention from any of the major media stuff. So we try our best to counter that. But it is very interesting seeing, like, especially like you said with Troy and Potlatch and the whole White Pine League, especially in
Lapwai,
football, they
obviously.
just beat each other up the whole time. It makes it difficult for them.
Especially on the basketball side of things.
Yeah.
At that 1A level, the White Pine League has ran that 1A level for so long. I mean, you look at the White Pine with Lapwai, the Genesee had their run, Troy had their run, Prairie had some really good teams there with Coach Bruner, and so some really good small town basketball in Northern Idaho.
And football is the same way. They make some great pushes. The White Pine League is always my favorite to watch. Just as a fan, because they score 180 points combined.
Get to the sideline and run, man.
Baseball last year, your semifinals in D1 were all 4 of them were White Pine League teams. So
and the Trojans ended up taking it home.
Yeah, first time
hung
ever
a banner
down
in there.
Yeah,
heck of a deal for them. Yeah.
There's just something to be said, and you said it a couple of times, the small town feel of those games in there. And I thought you locked the door. You're gonna let this guy.
If he doesn't win, he's gone.
We were just talking about the fieriness of Brooks' mom, so now we have backup for you just in case you get a little too fired up in this interview.
But you said it a lot, and I think that's the big draw to this area is how many small town basketball teams there are that actually have that fire, and that's all they want to do. And there was a great story, and I don't remember who wrote it.
If it was great, it was me.
It might have been.
That's probably
we
not
were talking
true.
about or it might have been something I saw on Facebook with Coach Zach's doing out there. But every place has got a basketball hoop outside of their house in these small town areas, and it just feels like it's a community that's all about that. And I remember my sister lived up in Troy area for a lot of years, and didn't matter what house you drove by, there was a basketball hoop out.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the cool things about Lewiston, actually, the Lewiston job that really drew me to it was you look at the Hottinger kid that plays for us. You look at Carson Way that plays for us. Carson Mater that plays for us. Mike Wren that plays. They're all products of small towns. I mean, they're all products of whether it's Weippe or they're a Highland kid or a Timberline kid or a Cottonwood kid. Like Lewiston's such a cool place because it's a melting pot of all these small towns, and you get so many blue collar people and you know, honestly, it's really, really fun to get to experience those type of people and get to coach those types of kids. Because I think you can coach them in a way that you don't get to coach many high school kids anymore these days. You know, you really don't. You don't get to coach them the same way that Ron Level coached them. I mean, shoot, we got Mr. Driscoll in here, and I don't I don't know if you get to coach him the same way that he might have been able to coach him, and it just, it's a really cool place. Lewiston's a really special place.
Yeah, and I have to commend you from just your first year and the way you have coached this Lewiston team with just I feel like calling the radio for them the last 2 seasons, just the change in defense. And you have iterated to me both when we first met and you had first gotten the job and then just a couple of conversations in between games and stuff about how much you focus defensively. And you can see that in that team. How was it a tough change for them over the summer, or did they really latch on? Because they play a lot stricter defense now than they did last season.
Yeah. And I wasn't here last season. I know that when I came in, you talk about a high character group of young men. And so there was really no fight. I mean, there might've been some new concepts. There might've been, some new terminology, but as far as just sitting down in a stance and playing hard, they never really fought me on that. I mean, they've kind of been on board since day one, and I'm so lucky for that. I'm so grateful for that. But I think just the terminology, the concepts, I think those were a little slow to grasp. The fact that we press for 32 minutes pretty much every game, and it's we go and double the ball and we get some rotations out of it. I think that those were took some time to kind of sink in. But I think now we've gotten a lot better defensively throughout the year too, which is kind of fun. Everybody always talks about offense, and we definitely have our areas of improvement on that side of the ball. But I think defense is definitely our calling card. And the one thing with defense is it travels, like you're if you can play defense and you play hard and that's a habit, basketball is a game of habit. Life's a game of habits. Like if you always just play hard, you sit in the stance and then, making shots, that just helps, but you can win a lot of games. I mean, we've won a lot of games this year. We're playing Clarkston on Friday. Shoot, we didn't shoot the ball great against Clarkston the first matchup in that Avista tournament, but our defense won us the game, So I appreciate your kind words. It's definitely something we try to hang our hat on.
So where did that come from? Was that with you working, doing stuff, U of I? I mean, where does that come from for you?
The defensive identity. Yeah, I think it's kind of been a mixture. When I was at the University of Idaho, I was around a lot of good coaches. Kirk Earlywine, for one, spent a lot of time with Rick Majerus, and he was such a great basketball mind. And then Coach Berlin, obviously, was all-time winningest coach. So I was so lucky to be around those two guys. Jeff Rhineland at Walla Walla, he was just so tenacious about being tough on the ball and not getting driven. And then you go back to like the early Troy days where you didn't have a choice. Like you were going to play hard. That you did not have a choice. That's what you were going to do. And so I think a mixture of all of those things has kind of helped develop the half court philosophy. And then I was extremely blessed to have the opportunity after the University of Idaho to go down to the Buchanan High School in Clovis, California. And I was able to meet Vance Wahlberg, who coached in our league, and Coach Wahlberg, I mean, he coached in the NBA. I mean, he was the head coach at Pepperdine for a while. He was at UMass. He was all over the place. And Tom Orlich, both. And Coach Orlich, I mean, he coached McDonald's All-American games. He coached Shaq, Bobby Hurley. I literally think he's like one of the top 5 winningest high school coaches of all time. And those two guys were the guys that kind of introduced the press. I mean, at Troy, we were so flex offense, slow it down, control it so much, play in the half court. And we pressed a little bit, but it was more of a zone press, kind of a soft press to slow teams down at Idaho. And when I got down to California, I mean, those guys, I mean, the Central Valley in Cal, you want to see teams that press and that are well coached. I mean, Adrian Wiggins is in that league. He was the head coach at Ole Miss for the women's side. Coach Wahlberg, I mentioned. Tony Amundsen has won multiple California State Coaches of the Year. Like that, the Central Valley of California, those kids play so hard. They press you for 32 minutes. And it was a culture shock when I went down there. I mean, I got my butt kicked down there for a while. And then I kind of started to learn. I was like, this press stuff's actually pretty good. And, if you do it right, you don't give up too many lands. And so I think it's just been a mixture, of all the experiences that I've been lucky enough to have in my basketball life and my basketball journey that has kind of brought it all kind of together, and to develop the defensive identity that we're having today.
So let's talk about the year. 10-4,
10-4
on the year.
Yeah.
Have had a lot of great performances throughout the year, but your 4 losses have been against some of the best teams in the area. The loss to Pullman, which we were just talking about, number 2 in
Yeah.
the state. They ended up
They
beating-
just finished up, beating the number 6 team, West Valley, 58-40 in early action tonight.
And
So-
then the Lapway game, the Avista, and that team just doesn't lose to anybody
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
Tough week last week with the loss to Coeur d'Alene,
Yeah.
which we won't get into because
Yeah.
again, that was a rough circumstance
Yeah.
where up 7 and then I blinked and then that 7-point lead was
That was
gone.
tough.
And
Yeah, that was a tough one.
I think it just kind of shocked the kids a little bit
Yeah.
and got down. And then of course, Lake City over the weekend. And
Yeah.
that team is just ridiculous. What can we do to go from where Lewiston is now to being up there with those teams I just mentioned? Because all 4 of them have been fantastic. I just
Yeah.
feel like what you have right now is just behind them right now.
Yeah, I think that we're right there. I think that we've definitely been growing throughout the season. As the season's gone on, I think we've gotten better in certain areas.
Mhm.
I think just as the basketball season goes on, you kind of have your preseason and then you have the conference season and then you have the tournament season. We're right on the cusp of being in that tournament season. And really the tournament season starts before the tournament starts, really. I mean, it's kind of that last couple weeks leading into it and just upping the intensity, upping the focus. And that's what we've been trying to do in practice, to get ready for this. I mean, this is going to be the atmosphere that we're going to see in this game. That's going to be as much pressure and as much, crowd involvement and just, the kids aren't going to be able to hear me, and this will be my first time on the sidelines. I've been to the game and sat way up in the stands, but this will be my first game on the sidelines. And so really it's training your guys to make the right play in winning time. The last 4 minutes of the fourth, the last 4 minutes of the second, the end of quarters, those areas, those winning time areas, that's where we need to improve on the most. And I think we're well on our way there. A part of that, I think, without taking a cop out, is I'm new to the guys and they're new to me. I mean, in the state of Idaho, it's not like California where you get to coach your guys year round and play year round. I mean, a lot of the guys were just coming done with football, getting done with football,
Right.
and then we're jumping right into the season. And so it takes a little longer, especially in your first year. You're trying to teach terminology, you're trying to teach concepts, you're trying to teach everything, and that's all new. And then on top of that, you're trying to teach them all those to make those game-winning plays when it counts. And I think the kids have done a really good job. I do. Credit to them. Credit to our kids. Like I've said, they're super high character kids. I think that we've made strides to go in the right direction, and I'm confident that we're going to continue to do so.
So let's talk about the Golden Throne this week. You said that was going to be one of my questions if you had experienced it at all
Once.
and being able to watch it. That place gets absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I always tell, we talk to a lot of Warrior players, whether it's volleyball, basketball, baseball. It's like, just go experience that. And I always feel bad for the basketball teams because they're always on the road. Because they play every weekend. So they just don't ever experience this until at least when they get to graduate. I'm very hoping Khalil Stevenson gets to go do this. And we'll talk about him here in a second. But big friend of the show, and he obviously played for LCA. Like,
Awesome
you
person.
have no idea
Awesome person.
what happens while you guys are on the road the last week of January. Volleyball, last year literally had a couple of the volleyball players sit behind me and on timeouts when you could hear, all I kept hearing was, why don't we get this? It's such a crazy experience. What is it going to be like for you? Again, we've already kind of talked about how hyped up you get. How is it going to be to be able to maintain your hype level with how crazy that place is going to be?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I'll know until I get there. You can kind of think what's going to happen, but until I'm on the sidelines and I hear the crowd and I hear the thunder sticks roaring from the Bengal student section. And
oh God, they're bringing thunder sticks.
Oh, absolutely.
We can't do that. It's too loud already.
Oh, we do it big
It's
time.
no.
Yeah. Shout out to Davey Steele, the best athletic. Best
I'm
activities director in the state, Davey Steele.
If we weren't on the radio, I would be cussing out Davey Steele right now.
He's very serious, because sitting for both of us, even trying to communicate last year, me sitting on the corner trying to PA announce just to communicate was like
6 feet apart texting each other.
Because you cannot hear a thing on the phone.
That's great.
And it's going to be interesting for you, as the student section is going to be directly behind your bench for Clarkston. Look for them to probably be extremely loud. I haven't heard if we're bringing any.
Oh man, if they both bring it, I don't know. We need a loudspeaker just talking to the radio microphone. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
So,
Last question, real
Okay.
quick, on the Golden Throne. Then we'll get to our hard hitting questions that
Okay.
we do here.
All right.
Had told me off air that you do not bring the stool on road games. Is the stool going to be there at Golden Throne?
Man, you know what? I think that I'm going to bring it because like we've touched on it. The kids aren't going to be able to hear me at all anyways,
Yeah.
you know? So hopefully I'm able to sit on my stool a little bit more and just enjoy this one rather than be so rambunctious. So I'm hoping that the stool makes an appearance and that I can just sit there and kind of John Wooden it, you know, just and I shouldn't even have said, I shouldn't even brought up John Wood. I mean, nowhere near right. The notorious Coach Wooden. So, but just be able to sit there and enjoy it and let the guys play and let them enjoy the moment and let the chips fall where they may.
Actually, one more. Robert had
All right,
messaged me on that. Is there a shot clock for the Golden Throne? I know Idaho continues to waver on implementing it, but do you know if there's a shot clock?
You know what? I don't know if
Friday?
that's been decided yet.
What-
So
what-
we're gonna
yeah, it
play that
should
one.
be
We're gonna
Idaho
play.
rules.
Yeah, we're gonna play that one close to the chest.
Yeah.
We don't know
Yeah.
if that one's been decided yet, being the home team. So.
Well, I mean, that's a tough thing, you know, watching an Idaho school that plays. I mean, I called games up at Grangeville. All right, that we're up this much, and all of a sudden, 4 minutes left, we start playing four corners.
Yeah.
and it's like, I
Yeah.
hate that for a vision.
Yeah, and you know, coming from California, and I hadn't coached high school basketball prior to going down there, and California plays with a shot clock,
Mhm.
and so coming back home, coming to Idaho, coming to Lewiston. In fact, one of the reasons why I was like, man, I think we're gonna have to press a little bit, is because I'm a pack line guy. You know, sit in the pack, and so much of the pack is predicated on keeping the defense tight, defending actions, not letting penetration. You know, well, you do that, and those can be some really long, grueling possessions
Mhm.
to sit in a stance and guard. And so the press kind of originally was to speed teams up a little bit, but I've kind of been surprised, to be honest with you guys, how few teams do that. And maybe it is just kind of with the evolution of basketball in the game and the ball screens
Right.
taking place and just kind of the speed. But I don't feel like we've played any crazy long possessions
No,
this year. I really don't.
Obviously, I mostly just watch Lewiston because
Yeah.
I'm there for those games.
Yeah.
But watching, I mean, and I'll tune in and watch some Lapways because Zach Eastwood is a friend of ours.
Yeah.
But Lapway, you don't need a shot clock because how fast they
Yeah.
play. But I do feel like teams are playing a bit faster this year, partially because of the pressure you guys put on, but also just I think teams maybe in the state of Idaho are ramping their kids up, getting ready for
Yeah,
when they
absolutely.
finally
Yep.
I agree
implement the shot clock.
with you. Yeah,
But
I agree.
I
with
had some possessions last year where it's like I think I called 87 passes,
you. Yeah.
and then they finally put up a shot and missed,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, we have 3 minutes left to
Yeah.
go in this quarter. And
Yeah.
finally, this team has their
Yeah.
first possession.
Yeah.
So no, I get it. All right, I'm gonna hit the hard hitting questions.
Okay.
Robert's gonna just drill you. Just
I'm gonna do the hard
They're
questions. so-
difficult.
All right.
Clarkston guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna-
yeah, you gotta
yeah.
gotta
I am
take
not
his
gonna go
jab.
that- I'm not gonna go
jabs.
that hard or this
Okay.
hard. All right. So really quick, we want to just get to know you, who you are,
Okay.
away from the game for a little
Okay.
bit. All right. What's your favorite board game?
Oh man, favorite board game probably marbles.
Marbles. Yeah.
Marbles,
Okay. I was thinking you were I figured you to be a Risk guy. That
A
was the
Risk guy.
first when I read the question. I thought he probably likes playing Risk.
Risk.
Um,
It takes too long. Takes
Yeah.
too long.
All right. What's one of your nicknames?
Oh man, Brooksy. People call me Brooksy for a long
Brooksy.
time.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a hidden talent?
Oh man, I don't think I have any hidden talents. I'm an okay chef. I'm an okay cook, I'd
there
say.
you go.
Well,
Yeah.
leading into the next
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
because this is one I love this question for the athletes from LC, the
Okay.
volleyball kids and the baseball guys talking about what's your go-to lazy dinner?
My go-to lazy dinner.
Mhm.
Oh man, I've got to be honest with you guys. I do not cook dinner. I'm married. So after after we tied the knot, she kind of took over those duties, and I left the microwave
Yeah.
burritos. I leave those in the frozen food section, the pizzas, the frozen pizzas, and all that stuff.
Obviously, we haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a bowl of top ramen if she's back in Spokane visiting her parents. So maybe
Yeah.
a bowl of top ramen.
Well, you didn't put it in there. I'm going to ask it though.
Okay.
Are you a PB&J fan? You like PB&J?
Oh, yeah, that-
absolutely.
That needs to
All
get
right.
back
Yeah,
into our
absolutely,
question.
Okay.
big time. Strawberry jelly.
Are you? So what is the ratio of PB to J?
You got to go peanut butter on both sides of bread, little bit of strawberry jelly just on one side.
Also,
Some
Yeah.
more peanut butter than jelly.
More
Yeah,
peanut butter than
kinda guy.
jelly.
I like
Is that
it.
all right with you
Yep.
guys?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Favorite sports team doesn't even have to be a basketball team.
Oh,
Do you
man.
follow a lot of other sports?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Seattle Mariners guy. I was a big baseball fan growing up. My dad's a big baseball guy,
Well,
and so
you're in a
you
good
know,
valley for
yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. I mean Brooks Robinson, right? So Brooks
There
Robinson.
you
I'm
go.
a big baseball guy. Like the Mariners. Big Seahawks fan. You know, I like the Seahawks. I'm with you. Gino's gonna ask for too much money, man. I'm not. Yeah, I'd like to see us go somewhere else. I'd
Yeah.
like to see us go somewhere. I wouldn't mind Garoppolo ending up in Seattle.
That'd be
that would
interesting. I mean, he's a
that
free
would
agent, so he
Yeah.
can go anywhere.
All right. Now the hard one out of my questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite coaching moment? Do you have a moment that has stuck out in your head?
Yeah, and my wife would tell you this, and I'm gonna get some hate for this one. But not only the coaching moment, but probably a top 5 moment of my life was we're playing Montana, and Montana. I mean, they had a great team. They had Fabian Krislovich, they had Jamar Ocko, they had Michael Ogini, they had a little point guard, and the name Ahmad Rory. Ahmad Rory was a bounce back from the University of Oregon. He was a top 100 guy coming out of high school, and he was just a stud. He was like my height. I'm like 5'9", and man, he was my height, but his biceps were as big as my head. You know, so he was a little water bug. I mean, he's so quick, so athletic. And they were in first place in the Big Sky, and we trailed them by 1 game when I was at Idaho, and I had the play cards, and so I was hot, so I got to call the plays in the second half, and we end up coming back in the second half. We end up grinding it out, go into overtime, and we won on a last-second tip-in from Nate Sherwood, and that was, oh man, I mean, you talk about, and the dome was rocking. I mean, growing up a local kid, you've been in the dome when there's nobody in the dome, and the new arena, by the way, is unbelievable. But you were in the Cowan Spectrum when there was nobody there, and they had the big curtains up, and there's nobody there. And man, for those 3 years when we were good, when we were averaging 20 wins a year, there were very few places in the Big Sky like it. You know, even Dahlberg in Montana has such a great tradition, and the fans get into it so much. They're so passionate. Weber was always awesome to play in, but man, Cowan, when that place was rocking and the students were there, and that night it was just special. And as a local kid, to be a part of that moment, I mean, it was unbelievable.
Awesome. Oh, yeah.
It was an
That's
unbelievable moment.
You
Yeah.
brought it, you probably haven't had what I've had. I coach junior high football. I've had my moments are when I get home, my wife has written notes of what I've
I love
done. You've yelled at that kid.
I
You
love
grabbed
it.
that kid.
I love
I'm
it.
like, no.
You know, it's funny. My mom used to do that. My mom and dad, they'd come to all the Vandal games, and my mom would sit behind the bench, and she'd get a piece of paper, and she'd write me notes every game. And after the game, she'd give me them.
That's
done.
awesome.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're gonna finish this up with a little word association. We do this to every guest that we have. Just give you a name.
Okay.
And part of these
And-
guys we've known, or we know their family, or
Yeah.
we know.
Okay.
So we have a relationship with.
So you
these
can be
guys.
super honest with some of these kids,
Yeah.
because whatever you say, we'll tell to their
Yeah.
really gonna
Yeah.
go. He's being too
Yeah.
nice. But
Okay.
all right, Carson Way.
Carson Way, unbelievable athlete. He's a really great athlete, better person, really good teammate, high character kid, smart, competitive.
How about James White?
James White, big, strong athlete, quick twitch, competitor, likes to be coached. I mean, that's honestly, and I don't say this in a bad way, but sometimes you get some of those better athletes, and they're a little hard-headed, loves to be coached. I mean, he's one of the guys that you can really go at, and you can get on him about something, and he always responds in such a positive way. And the growth that he's made this season, just as a young man, has been so much fun to see. But I've been so impressed with who he is, his coachability, for being such of a good athlete that he is in this area. Kudos to him. I mean, such a high character young man.
It's one of those crazy things with White that you're such a defensive minded coach, and it's offensively that James White, I think, has bloomed.
Yeah.
He's always been a great defensive player. Has loved to take all the contact. He would average a point a game, I think, last year. And if you got him up to like 7 or 8.
Well, how about this about James? And we had a conversation early in the year. He comes off the bench for us.
Yeah.
He comes off the bench for us.
Mhm.
You know, name another guy in the state of Idaho who's going to be a Division I athlete that's unselfish enough, that's selfless enough to say, you know what, for the team, for the rotation of the team, and even if I don't understand it, coach, if that's what you want me to do, I'll do it. I
Mhm.
mean, that's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
Especially as he's 17, 18 years old. I mean, how in a time where Instagram and TikTok and everything's so important, the perception of who you are is so important, for him to say, nah, I don't really care what the people say in the crowd. I'm going to do what's best for the people in the room. I mean,
yeah, he came. I told Randy he came and sat behind me the other night at the Carson Pullman game and sat there behind me, and we had a conversation. And just he wants to talk sports. He's trying to draw that in. And I get that from him.
Yeah,
highly impressed.
Yeah.
All right, how about Carson Mater?
Carson Mater, oh my goodness, underdog, blue collar to the core, ingrained who he is as a person. Gosh, he's one of those kids that you almost get emotional talking about. Like you almost get choked up talking about. He was a junior JV kid last year, and I wasn't here, but he's a junior JV kid. I come here, I have 3 hours maybe before I land. I go to my Uncle Darren's, I drop my stuff off, I go to Lewiston High School. We have our first summer league practice. That lasted all of an hour and a half, and then we go play at LCSE that night. Literally, as soon as it was over, all the kids jumped in their car, I jumped in my car, and we drove over. So I had an hour and a half to evaluate and watch these guys. After the hour and a half, Carson Mater was on the varsity 2 team. As a senior, he's on the varsity 2 team. Because he doesn't jump out at you right away. He just makes game-winning plays. He makes game-winning play after game-winning play after game-winning play. He does everything you ask of him. He's the ultimate teammate. And so he went from being a JV2 guy to being a varsity 2 guy to being a starter. And he's led us in scoring. At times this season, he had 13 against Coeur d'Alene, and carried us. He carried us a little bit in that Post Falls game when we were struggling to score a little bit at the beginning. So that's a kid that you just cheer for. You just cheer for him.
All right. Now we know these next 2 kids' dads.
Okay.
So again, you can be brutally honest because they would agree with you.
Okay.
Tegan Nubo.
Going to be the CEO someday. Going to be a guy that is 25 years old and is telling everybody else what to do. Like, I can't speak highly enough about him. He's the heart of the team. If you want my honest opinion, he's the heart of the team. We talk a lot about our 3 pillars are toughness, attitude, and servant leadership. And we have freshmen, some of the freshmen that are in our program are on the JV team. And you talk about Tegan's servant leadership. He doesn't play very many minutes, if at all, in a lot of games. And yet he still comes to practice every single day, challenges the young guys. He's not too cool for it, doesn't have his cool jacket off and won't play against them. He challenges the young guys. He challenges our older guys who get more minutes than him. And the best thing is, when we're on the bench, he's got the loudest voice. We'll be breaking a huddle and somebody maybe be confused. Maybe I did a poor job of communicating it. And Tegan's right in that kid's ear, telling him exactly what he wants. It's unbelievable. I don't know if at any level. I've coached at the junior college level. I've coached at the Division I level. I've been a head high school coach. I don't know if I've ever seen a teammate and a person like him. I'm serious. I don't know if I have. The level of character that he has, how smart he is. He's going to be whatever he wants to do. He's going to be extremely successful. And literally whatever he wants to do, he's going to be extremely successful in.
Awesome. How about Bryce Benching?
Love bench. Similar, very similar. He came up to me and I didn't get to see him a lot this summer. Because he's a baseball player. Right. And so he came up to me this summer and we were sitting there and we were talking, and I told him, I said, Bench, I'm going to be honest with you, man, you're probably our 4th big at best. And that's hard to play. To play 4 bigs, that's a lot. I don't think you're going to play much. And he goes, Coach, I know. He goes, I just want to be a part of it. And since day one, he's been bought into doing whatever he has been asked to do. He battles so hard in practice. And you know what? I think that we're pretty lucky with the bigs that we have. James White, Division I tight end. Rylan Gomez, left-handed, big, long, great athlete. And then you have Drew Hottinger, who's another. He's 6'5", 6'5.5". A legit 6'5". You could say that he's 6'6", and people would believe you. If we didn't have those 3 guys, I'd be 100% comfortable putting Bench in. And I think that he'd play for a lot of different teams in the state. I really do. And when you're asking a guy like that to not play at all, really, that can be tough. And the ultimate teammate, servant leadership to to a fault. Unbelievable kid. I'm excited to watch him play baseball, honestly. As a baseball fan, I'm excited to see him get out there and play.
Mhm.
You know, that's a guy that you cheer for all day long. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be ready to call those games as well. All right. Last two real quick.
Okay.
Big friend of the show again, Khalil Stevenson.
Khalil Stevenson, Coach K, been bought in since day one. Coach Johnson contacted me and said, "Hey, I got a guy for you," and I'm so happy that he was able to introduce us. Been bought in since day one. Coaches our freshman team and does an unbelievable job of player development with those guys. Not only player development, but their attitudes, how they approach the game, how they approach practice. I mean, he's a guy really. And when you're building a high school program, that's a really, really important position. I mean, extremely important, because a lot of those freshmen are going to play freshman basketball. And by the time they get up to you, you know, you might have only been able to see them, you know, a limited amount of time. And so having somebody down there who you trust fully to get them ready is extremely important. And he has my trust 100%.
All right. And then we do it to everybody.
Okay.
The last one, Brooks Mall.
Oh, man. Lucky.
You're getting evaled right now.
I'm lucky.
Saying.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be here. I'm extremely blessed to be here. The community of Lewiston has been nothing but gracious. The kids that I get to coach, like I've said, they haven't fought me once since I've been here. I'm blessed. I'm grateful.
All right. We very much appreciate you. It's been fun to watch you coach this year.
Thank you guys
and
for having me.
Again, we'll have to have you on now. It's been fantastic to talk with you. But now we have two guys just staring you down, waiting for their turn. Right. But no, it's been a fantastic conversation. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch you out there for the Golden Throne on Friday and the rest of you. Brooks, appreciate you, man.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
All right. That's Brooks Malden, head basketball coach for Lewiston High School. And he's going to have a great environment that he's going to coach in here on Friday as we get our other two guys come in and have a seat here. And we talked about it. It is all about Golden Throne Week here and wrapping things up. And we had them on last year. Last year, I think we were one of those Monday shows, if I remember right, from last year, as basketball just makes us go all kinds of directions. So and bringing on principals Doug Lemunion from Clarkson and Kevin Driscoll from Lewiston. How we doing tonight, guys?
Good. Great.
I know it's busy week. I know for you, not as much on the sports side. For us, we've got to play 2 other games this week. You guys have nothing.
We got wrestling Wednesday night.
Well, we'll get to wrestling here in a minute. But as the Bantam boys and girls played tonight, and big with that. One thing I want to lead into really quick, and I know we like to play this about the game, but for me, it's not about just the game. It's all the stuff that goes on in the week. And I want to hit on really the big one for us today as the student body was out there doing the donation and fundraiser for stuff for. Can you talk a little bit about that, Doug?
Yeah, I think it is more than the game. It is the best event I've ever been a part of as a player, a coach, an administrator. It's the way it should be. Kids cheering on their team, not being critical of the other school, not being critical of officials, showing good sportsmanship. And it does. It started for us on Monday, doing activities and dress up activities and making people aware and showing the spirit and including people that are not normally included, and then raising money in a drive-by today to donate to charities and thinking of others that are less fortunate than us and making sure that they're at the forefront and helping support our community. And I've said it many times is that it's now with our student bodies is that it's almost like we're one district, to be honest with you. We're split by a river and a state line, but it's our students are affected by his students and vice versa. And there's friends there, and makes this a good thing that we can help all of the communities in the valley with the charities that they support. So it's huge for our student body and for our community.
With that being said, and you know, you talked about the drive-by today. So let's hit on the charities that got selected. How do they go about? I know Clarkson has their website where you go in there and make a suggestion to how do you guys decide what charities we address each year?
Well, I'll go first. I don't know. I don't know who got awarded, to be honest with you, because it's such a kid-driven thing.
Mhm.
It's complete. They have complete autonomy when they run this, and they do it. And our ASB advisor, Debbie Lynch, does a phenomenal job. Our ASB officers are sensational. And I'll be honest, I step away from it and learn from their leadership and let them make those selections as they fill out an application. And I think they wish there was more money to give and be able to include more, but they have their own rubric and the kids make those decisions. And I think the kids work together to make those decisions. And I'll be honest with you, I try not to get in the way.
Yeah, I mean, follow up what Doug said. Our kids get with their kids, and they both got ideas when they get together on the final decision. There's an application process, but people just come up with ideas too. So, I'm with Doug. I step back. It's a great opportunity for our kids to show their leadership skills and give them back to the community. And our kids get with Clarkston kids. They meet 2 or 3 times, coming into this, and they'll do the same thing afterwards. We'll have the mock check ceremony Friday night, but what's really special is when they come into the library and they bring those charities in and actually give them the checks. It's emotional. It's great for our kids to be part of that.
So for those that don't know who the charities are this year, I know we'll announce it more on Friday, but the charities were the Teth Family Suicide Prevention for the Inland Northwest, Habitat for Humanity, and the United Way this year. So
That's very good. So talk about just the continued growth of all of this, because obviously the Golden Throne's been going on since the late 90s is when that got started. I think it was
after I left.
Yeah, it was a few years before I got into high school. But back then it was just, let's get together at one of these gyms. And we raised money and stuff, but it wasn't anything crazy. There was enough money to put paper rings all around the school. And it was whoever had the longest links or whatever was the winner. And that's kind of how we did it. But it was nothing compared to what we have now, doing it at the P1FCU Activity Center and just packing that place. Just talk about kind of the growth of this and now growing it in with the wrestling event on Wednesday. I know obviously we've always had the football game that's gotten big, but just the different ways that you've incorporated the other sports as well.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, this started before Doug and I's time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a huge credit to the advisors, not only that we have now, but prior. And our kids have developed it. And those advisors have worked so hard. And way back in the day, it was blood and guts and kids destroying each other's schools and everything else. And
I won't tell you I was one of the ones that slept out on the football field.
Exactly.
Yeah, Robert was one of those reasons why they still put up fences for the football game.
We hung, they used to hang animals off the bridge. So
No, I will tell you this: the IHSAA, our governing body, came up last year because they told us this is the coolest one, the biggest one, probably the most special one that we, of all the Spirit games in the state. I can tell you we have 15 kids coming from Nespers. Buddy of mine used to coach with me in Stapleton.
Oh, yeah.
Called me and I got to grab him 15 tickets to bring kids down. And we have other schools that come down and just watch what, again, collectively what our kids are doing. And when I say our kids, I mean Doug and I's kids, because like you said earlier, it's one deal with them right now, it's just phenomenal.
And with that being said, Brooks even said a few minutes ago when you guys were out in the hall, that this will be his first time on the court. He sat up there in the stands, and it's going to be a totally different environment. And we kind of had that feeling with Lapway during the Avista tournament. It felt almost Golden Throne-esque with this one.
And I got the fortune to officiate a Golden Throne when I was officiating high school basketball. So I've been an official there, and it's the loudest venue I've been a part of. I've repped a state tournament in Idaho. I've repped the state tournament in Washington, district tournaments, and there's nothing like it. And it's a tribute to our kids. And I just love the sportsmanship aspect of it. It's just nice to know that we're here to cheer our team on, to acknowledge effort from the other side without it becoming, we're so critical in a society today that of analyzing everybody and telling them how bad they are, that it's just a a bunch of people enjoying the game whose focus, if you're going to win the throne, is being a good sport and being a good person. And that spills over to charities, and that spills over to personal relationships, and that spills over. And if we can, and we were including wrestling. And I think it's the kids' ideas that it's doing all of these things, and the cheerleading squads getting together and working together, and ASBs. And, you know, we're looking at Day of Caring on March 24th, where our seniors from both schools are going to go out and help local communities and charities and work together. And I think it's built over to that as well, is that we need to work together and show in this society people can work together, but have opposing views about who should win or what success is. And I think we need to be that model, rather than the hate and the displeasure that we see so often in political arenas and in those types of things. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I love it. I'm falling in love with it. It's a stressful night for an administrator for sure, one of our toughest. But we were talking about in the hallway, we wouldn't trade it for a moment because of how great it is for kids.
And it's not just, like you were saying, it's not just our kids here, but it's you bringing kids out from other places. I mean, and even the junior highs, you're getting Lincoln, you're getting Zach, you're getting Jennifer, and all of them coming into this environment, and they're prepping and getting to know. Because we've talked about it even yesterday at school. We talked about the idea, okay, what do we got to do when we get there? How are you going to handle yourself in dealing with that? I mean, it's a whole new ball game with that. So with that being said, and we brought up the events and how the other events have grown. Plunger is tomorrow night, Golden Plunger, those who don't know, up at have you named the building yet, or are we just calling it Lewiston High School?
Right now, it's just Lewiston High School.
Lewiston High School, JV kicks things off at 6:00. Senior night too. I think it was entailed with that. So senior night for Lewiston High School up there, varsity at 7. So any big matchups? Who do you think? Who we got going against who? I mean,
I know that there's talk of
Dawson Bailey. Are your coaches going to wrestle?
I think coaches are moving some people around.
The
Wrestling's
principals have the last match of the night.
Yeah.
We're both being singles.
Me and Doug will get out there. No one wants to see that.
That's another fundraiser we're going to work on.
I got Corey on Corey Thiebridge on speed dial. We can just hook him up and tell him he's going to wrestle.
I'm not wrestling Thiebridge.
No, me either.
It's going to be fun. I mean, it's a big night, you know. You turn the lights off and drop the spotlight on, and it's still Lewiston Clarkson, and you know that's the cool thing. Doug mentioned it before. Our kids are going to compete. Their kids are going to compete. I mean, they all want to win. But it you know, we added that years ago. I don't know when we started on Wednesday of Golden Throne Week, but it just adds for our wrestlers, because our wrestling's a different animal. They're on the road so much. So this is probably the biggest night of the year. It is the biggest night of the year for our home wrestling.
And I don't know if there's a single matchup. It's just the opportunity to have the matchup, right? And have that lineup and have that spotlight. And our senior night was last week, and the crowd was packed for our wrestlers, and cheering was going on. And it's just, those guys need that as well, because typically they're wrestling weekends and they're wrestling 2 days, and I mean, they're grueling matches, and it's tough for a crowd to stay intense for that long. So this duel is awesome just for that.
And I think there's a few matchup that's going to happen again, because a few of them wrestled Clearwater Classic this weekend. So there's going to be, trying to eat back, there's one Dawson Bailey, I know, lost in his match. So be an interesting night tomorrow night.
Have there been any talks of moving the Golden Plunger to the P1FCU Activity Center? I'm seeing some faces, so maybe.
No formal talks.
No. It would be a good atmosphere to get them in there in that place. I don't know how you'd get all the mats and stuff in there and make that all work, but that's the next step.
It could probably happen.
I'm not saying it hasn't been mentioned, but it hasn't been a formal discussion as yet. But I think you're absolutely right. How can we make it one evening potentially? How can we have that as a discussion? Is there anything else that we can include as well? So
Doug and I'd probably get in trouble if we don't go back and talk to Corey and Shannon about that first.
I hope Shannon's not watching right now.
Now, hopefully he's too busy watching the Clarkson play at the moment.
Yeah,
I have not even gotten a message from him, so I don't know. So, all right, so let's get to it. Friday night, big night. Girls start at 6. Boys start at 7 or at 8. Any big? Who are we looking forward to prediction wise. So I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to throw.
You're gonna
predictions.
ask them
Yes, heck
predictions.
yeah.
That's such a waste of time. You know
What
that
are you
Doug's gonna say.
what are you
gonna
Lewiston.
say?
Here's my prediction.
Yeah.
No, this is the prediction I'm getting to.
Okay.
What's the chances of seeing Driscoll out there in those funny looking minion overalls that him and Williams had on a couple of years ago? Did you lose a bet this week yet?
I tell you what, there's incentives in Lewiston High School.
I know there's incentives in both schools. And that's just or what kind of
Here's the
things
deal.
are happening here?
Until the Munyon gets a Bantam tattoo, he can't even talk about incentives.
He's got one he can copy right there.
I
Right
will.
there.
I will also tell you this:
There.
my son got me something special for Christmas, and those might come out on Friday night.
I don't know if that just sold tickets or I had people donate tickets.
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
little
Well, there's some
scared.
options done to my head if some certain amount of money is raised. There's kids going to do some stuff to my hair and my head.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've volunteered that if they raise so much money.
Nice.
Yeah, so there might be. I'm not as spiritual as old
Yeah.
Driscoll here. So yeah, but we fight for our bantams just as hard.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
we do.
We always talk about it on the show that Golden Throne is our favorite
Mhm.
singular night in sports in this area, whether it's World Series or any of that here,
Mhm.
just because of how crazy it gets and how it's evolved. I mean, you guys have credited the student bodies for changing it, but I think Doug, you brought it up in a great way about how you guys coming together have really grown that event and having the student bodies more work together than against each other. Because I mean, Robert is 87 years old, so it's been a while for him. But I mean, even for
I
me,
feel that way
it-
sometimes.
even for me, back when I was in school for the Golden Throne, it wasn't cutthroat like some of the football games could be, but
Mhm.
a lot of the chants were not sportsmanlike to the other team. I will go that far with it. But now, it's like anybody that asks me about the Golden Throne and how it is, I always tell them it's like a big soccer match because it's just the student bodies are just out there to make noise, and it's not like derogatory to the other team. It's just we're gonna do all these crazy chants for 4 hours
Mhm.
and have no voice afterwards, and it's because of how much Lewiston and Clarkson have really come together to make this event so big that it's the best night in sports in the area, bar none. Like Avista's attempting to and packing that place when Lapway will play a Lewiston or a Clarkson,
Mhm.
but you don't get the student bodies
Right.
involved
During
in that
Christmas
event
break.
like you do Golden Throne. And you just have to commend both
Yeah.
schools for making this such a insane event. And I have to ask, because I was spoiled something. We have thunder sticks.
Yeah, we were just told this. What the heck?
What is this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Brooks was telling me something about thunder sticks are going on, and I
Should we drop a name?
can't hear things as it is over
Actually,
there.
they're not like the ones that you saw in the Kibby Dome. We were a little worried about it, but they're not very. You can clap louder than these things
Okay.
are. So
I was trying to do play-by-play on the radio. It's impossible to hear me as it is, and then you fill
You're-
half that gym with thunder sticks. I'm like, how?
uh,
How is this going to work? But okay, I was a little worried.
hey,
Well-
we can't be giving away our secrets
Yeah,
to
like,
the
we gotta-
opposing
We're
guy.
gonna have to
man.
ramp it up, I guess.
Yeah.
No,
you got 3 days.
Yeah,
so.
my favorite part of last year, though, I remember during the games, and I love to see our kids compete, but win or lose, every time out or every dead ball, they'd put up a song, and both
Oh, God,
ASBs,
this is my
if you
favorite.
watched,
Mhm.
would be belting it out at the top of their lungs, dancing as if they were one crowd. And
Mhm.
I'm just giggling watching it. It was fun, and it was just enjoyable to see that we enjoyed the moment. So I would encourage anyone, if you haven't been to, you need to. It's a sensational event. It's special. You can't describe it.
Yep.
The volume you can't unless you experience it. And how lucky are our kids to have that
Mhm.
opportunity. And again, this is a tough week for the Clarkson Bantams because we had Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But we believe in embracing the challenge. In fact, if you're going to make the state tournament, you better darn well be able to handle that
Mhm.
and be able to handle competitive situations and being on the road and not sleeping well. And so we embrace the challenge that that's what's preparing us for postseason. And Lewiston prepares us for postseason. In our league, Lewiston would be the best team in the league that we would face. And so this is a great opportunity for our girls to grow, and the Lewiston boys have beaten us, and that's going to make us grow better and be prepared for our postseason. So I just look at it as a great event to make us better, even though it is a little bit tough for our kids, but we're gonna battle through it.
Oh,
the one thing. Sorry, Rob.
no, go for it.
You know, watch what happens with our cheerleaders.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Clarkson girls will perform. Our girls will run over and give them flowers and roses,
Mhm.
and they do the same thing. And cheerleaders have been doing that a long time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
they've
And
led
football,
that.
they do too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Great cheerleading advisors.
yeah, I mean, it's not. This week's about our wrestlers. This week's about our boys and girls basketball team. It's about our cheerleaders. But there'll be students that come to these games that never come to a game
Mhm.
just because it's the Throne.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, it's pretty special.
I'm
It's
looking forward to it.
all about the student body and all that, and having those folks in there. So it is an Idaho sanctioned league this year. So Idaho's in charge. Do we know if shot clock or not? We talked with Brooks the other. Are they doing shot clock for the game or not?
You know what, Robert? I don't even know. I haven't even talked to her.
We
Honestly,
leave that to athletic director.
Well,
Yeah.
and the thing is the games are honestly secondary. to
Oh
me.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I tell people I'm proud papa, proud principal moment so many times during the year, but just watching our ASB kids because they're stressed out about it. They
Oh,
want to
yeah.
make every dime.
Yeah.
They want to win that Throne. They want to make it special for those charities. How hard those kids work. It's special.
Well, I think it's exactly what Doug just said a minute ago. It's one of those moments you pull out. Okay, what was it in 1 year? And I think one that sticks out in mind a couple years ago was when Clarkson came down in the tuxedos out of the stands. They were underneath the sign, come down, walked out, and they were all dressed real fancy, and what's really cool, pregame and that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it's those little things like singing and just getting people involved and
Part in
coming
the
out.
Red Sea. That's the one I
Yeah.
remember. That might have been before
Yeah,
you.
before me. That
Yeah.
sounds
So-
pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
Mhm.
There's lots of cool things.
Oh, yeah.
There are kids. They're so much more creative.
Yeah.
Than us old guys.
Yeah. All right. So with that being said,
Mhm.
girls tip time 6:00, boys 8:00. Tickets are on sale now, $5 each, and you have to get them at the high school, either one of the high schools, correct? And no passes.
IHSA.
Right.
Do it
and then,
quick.
and then we stop sales at noon, but then you can buy them at the door. But the line at the door can be quite long. So
Please,
Mhm.
please,
if you
please
pre-buy,
buy them at the
if,
schools.
if you pre-buy, you're going to get in much faster,
Yeah.
and it's going to be an easier process if you pre-buy.
Lewiston on the west side, Clarkson enters on the east side. I
Correct.
know this year. So
And there was some
Plan accordingly.
misinformation that got put out today. The games are still at 6, and the boys follow that girls' game afterwards around 8-ish. And we'll send out a correction tomorrow. But you're right on the gates.
All right, perfect. Well, Kevin, Doug, we always appreciate you guys coming on, getting ready for this big event. Hopefully, when I see you guys afterwards, you'll have voices,
Yeah,
or your hearing won't be impaired. One of the two.
We'll be the ones running around.
yeah.
all right.
Interception for sure. We
All right.
appreciate you guys
Yeah.
so much.
No,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Appreciate it.
That is
Go
Doug-
Bantams.
Yeah, there you go. Go Bantams. That's right.
So if we win the Throne, Hagen's wearing a Bengals shirt for the rest of the month.
No. I do have a couple of Bengals there. And Haven Morphin, Muffin's already said go Bantams, so thanks to him.
Oh, geez.
Gotta love that.
Nice,
So,
guys.
that
So-
was principals Kevin Driscoll and Doug Lemon.
Yeah, always fun to have them on. And I have to say one more time, we got to get Brooks back on. He's a good interview and a lot of fun to chat with. You can tell the emotion
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that he brings to them, and just again talking about some of those kids and nearly choking up a little bit. He's a good dude.
And that's the big plus. And everybody that we have had on, I mean, we get some great stories out of all
Yeah.
of them between Sean,
Mhm.
between, getting, some of these others on besides Doug and Shannon and all of them, even the girls, Callie and our volleyball.
All right, but with that
Anthony.
said, we got 3 minutes left.
Yeah, we
we're
got
gonna run late because I'm gonna hit LC real quick because we haven't talked
All right.
any LC because that was supposed to be in
Speedy,
between the
speedy.
interviews and it didn't work. How about the men winning both games?
Yes.
Congratulations to them, crushing Evergreen State 107-76. 6 players in double figures in that contest. Then they went against Northwest 76-70. The freshmen coming up huge. Pullman's, Grayson Hunt, Colfax's, John Lustig had 2 really good games this weekend. Now the men just 1 game under 500, starting to turn things around a little bit, but they got a really tough test this weekend. We'll touch on that in a second. Women continue to roll. They have now won 18 straight games. They are 18-1. They rolled through Evergreen State 90-41. How about Callie Stevens? 6 threes and 26 points, and she only played 22 minutes of that game because you really didn't need to
That's
play
nuts.
your starters. for most of that. Career high for her in threes and was like 3 off the school record. And again, she only played about half the game.
Yeah.
Then they get through Northwest 95-53. Close game through the first half. And then the Warriors dominated the second half. Freshmen again are the story. Freshman Peyton Hymas with 17 points. Freshman Satara Bird with 11 points and 10 rebounds in that one. Congratulations to them. They get College of Idaho on Friday. The number 1 team on the men's side in the entire NAIA is College of Idaho. So tough test for the men to get back to 500. And then on Saturday, they're at Eastern Oregon. For the men's side, they did receive votes this last poll. And for the women, it'll be the number 10 seeded Warriors against number 16 Eastern Oregon. So some good matchups there this weekend. Quick track and field. London Kirk won the Cascade Conference Men's Track Athlete of the Week for the second consecutive week because he shattered the LCSC record in the 400 with a 48.1. He also tied the 200-meter record, 21.99. And Christian Bothwell was the CCC Men's Field Athlete of the Week. Second in school history with a score of 45.89 in the heptathlon. And he's already in the top 10 in all of NAIA with that score. How about Madigan Kelly? We brought her up 100 times, I feel like, last year. She broke the 60-meter hurdles and then broke the record again. She broke it twice over the weekend. It was an 8.92 and then an 8.7. And then in the 60-meter dash, she set the record at a 7.93 and then broke her own record again with a 7.9. Is it Sydney Siwina? I need to ask Alicia how you say that name, and I apologize to Sydney if I butchered your name. I apologize there. But she topped her record in the triple jump with a distance of 11.01 meters, and Trenton Johnson on the men's side also bettered his record in the triple jump with a distance of 13.61 meters. They'll be at Whitworth Open on Saturday. Tennis starts in full this weekend. The women had an event way back in like November, just getting stuff going. The women will be at Montana State on Friday, the Boise State on Saturday. And the men will get their season started at noon here at LC against Seattle University. I will have the preview for the tennis teams on lcwarriors.com. I think Thursday is when Alicia wants me to have that in by. And cool golf news. We've had Devin and Deanna Caruso on the show before. Their little sister, Chase Caruso, who I put in the paper all the time for her volleyball and basketball exploits. Well, Chase is joining brother and sister, though brother will graduate by the time she gets here, on the golf team here at LC. She'll be part of that squad in 2023, 2-time district champion.
That's awesome.
In golf. So it's 2 seconds of Warriors, but we've had a lot of fun. Real quick before we go, need predictions. Obviously, we weren't going to get them.
Yeah, we weren't going to
from
get
them. But girls, who's going to win?
I've got the Banners by 11.
I hate to say it. Bengals, I bring up a ton of times. This was a rough year for them with how much turnover they had and how good the Inland Empire League is around them. Again, these are all rematches from the Avista tournament,
right?
Where Bantams won the girls, Bengals won the boys. I'm going to say Bantams by 15. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but Bengals just haven't been able to hang in there for 4 full quarters against really good teams. And Clarkson's pretty good. And on the boys' side, Bengals won by 10 at the Avista. I like what they've been doing to change things up. I do think being the third game in the week is going to affect Clarkson. I'm going to say Lewiston by 15.
I have not asked Pete yet how the Banners played tonight to see if Xavier played. He did not play the other night against East Valley, taking some time off. I think the Banners end up winning by a deuce, last second shot somewhere.
A last second shot at that place would be insane.
Yeah, and it will.
Who takes the throne?
If I hear those thunder sticks, maybe they sound more like clappers. I don't know.
We'll see. I'm scared. I'm still worried, but yes, I'm going to take Lewiston, obviously, because I got to homer it up a little bit. And before we go, we have to definitely give a big congratulations to Joel and his wife, Lona. Joel Damon, of course, for their new baby boy, Riggs William Damon, who was born on Thursday, January 19th at 8 pounds and 7 ounces. We were wondering why he had pulled out of the golf tournament. And then he had tweeted out that, don't worry, I won't be here for the next 3 weeks. And we all wondered why. Well, it was baby time. So congratulations to them. And obviously we will update Joel's PGA exploits when he gets back on the tour, but definitely enjoy being a dad, Joel. It's very, awesome news.
Hanging out in Scottsdale, get a little sun and taking care of baby.
And again, we're running a couple minutes late, but we're having too much fun.
Yep.
Got to bring up the bowling league just to finish things off. So if you don't care, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Actually, I need two predictions from you
All right.
before we get going. So unfortunately, you did get eliminated in the bowling league.
Yeah,
We won't
talk about
we won't
that.
delve into that, but I need some predictions for you. We are in our divisional round this upcoming Sunday, our final 8. So in the NFC, it is the Seattle Seahawks, which is the Claffies, versus the San Francisco 49ers, which is Billy Kite and David Doofenberg. Who do you got there?
I'm taking Doof and them, even though they had a bye week. They went 8-5.
Ooh, we got scores too.
Yeah,
I like
got
this.
scores.
I had that really tough moment where there was a score issue in a game last week, and it's never fun when double check your scores, kids. Double check your math. But the Minnesota Vikings will be up against the Atlanta Falcons. So Trisha and Blaine Graining against, well, now Jay Durham, because Travis has a play that schedule issues made him unavailable. So Jay Durham and Michelle Carpenter.
It's going to be close. I'm going to take Minnesota just because Trisha has been bowling really well.
She has
close
MVP.
I think it's going to end up being 7-6.
Ooh, the NFC were all close
Yes,
last week.
they were all
too.
close last week.
In the AFC, the team that defeated you, the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know if Dwayne's still listening, but Dwayne Buttermore and Ray Jean Blanc will be taking on the Indianapolis Colts, Kyle Post and Brandon Nubo, who both shot 700s last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you got?
If they stay hot, it's going to be hard to beat them. I've got Indy knocking off Kansas City 9-4.
And finally, your number 1 seed in the AFC, the New York Jets. See, we can make the playoffs. You just need myself and Tony Barden, apparently, mostly Tony Barden, but I did beat him in average this year. We take on the Houston Texans and Anita Orton and Gary Packwood. Who you got?
I'm pulling for another championship, new championship out of that one. So I'm going to go New York Jets 10-3.
I am very worried. Gary Packwood, I think with handicap, had like a 760 last week, which is rough to go against. And Anita can get things going as well. Well, last predictions. Royal Rumble is Saturday. Usually we have a lot of fun on this show.
We didn't have a chance to prep
had
it.
Zero chance.
So maybe we type up something and have it, and we'll post it.
Just
maybe
real
Friday.
quick, who's the women's Royal Rumble winner? If it's not Rhea Ripley, you're wrong.
And I no, that's where I was kind of leaning. I think it's going to be Rhea.
And who wins the men's side? That one's interesting. It's down to 2 to me.
I would love to see Monster of All Men.
What?
Yep.
It's not Strowman. It is either Cody Rhodes coming back from his torn boobie, or Sami Zayn, whose his story the last 6 months has been absolutely phenomenal. I am pulling for Sami Zayn, but give me Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be at He's not supposed to be at SmackDown Friday.
He's going to be at SmackDown.
Stay away.
That's going to be the whole story. He will be there at SmackDown. He'll run in late to try to save something, and Roman will get mad, and it'll be great. Which actually, Raw 30 was pretty fun.
Yeah.
God, it's 30 years old. But that's going to do it for a slightly extended episode. The Queen and Ronda Rousey final 2. I like it. I like her picks as well, but the Queen is champion, so I don't think Charlotte Flair will be in the Rumble.
Nope.
Ronda Rousey could. So there you go. That's going to do it. Don't forget, we were going to bring this up multiple times and forgot. We will be on Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. We'll be back at home doing that show since we're off schedule. We will hopefully remember to post some stuff on the Facebook page to remind everybody. But again, thank you so much to the old principals,
Doug
Munyon and Kevin Driscoll, and of course to Brooks' mom, the new head coach for the Lewis basketball team. Fantastic interviews all around. Golden Throne this Friday night. Girls start at 8 or 6. Girls start at 6. Boys start at around 8 o'clock. We'll see when things go. Are you the PA?
I am the PA. I'm the one and only one that'll be wearing the right color at the scorers table. So LC athletes, if you are in town, make sure you are here. Get your tickets. Go to the high schools. $5 a piece, and get those now.
Absolutely. But that is going to do it for this fantastic show of the R&R Sports Report. We'll be back on Monday night. But until then, that's Robert. I'm Randy. This is the R&R Sports Report, and we are